when we're gaming. Do you guys remember the startup screen? Yeah, we did one of these for the first history video, and I was so excited about this that I forgot to hit go live, and I only hit start recording. So this is something that you guys didn't see if you haven't watched the upload that I put up a month ago. I never did part 1, no. I mean, I just feel like there's not much to say about part 1 because, like, obviously it could have been improved. I do want to say, though, that when part 1 came out, I didn't expect to get as much acclaim as I did. I received so much praise for that video, and I thought it was, like, alright. You know, the first time I ever keyframed anything in any video was that one. And that was, I think, the first keyframe I ever did was the one of the PC Gamer article that like brushes across the screen when it says like it evolved into a movement that revitalized the game. That was the first keyframe I ever did in a video. So I had to teach myself a lot of stuff to make this happen in the short amount of time that did. I think I started working on the script sometime in April. It came out to, with all 4 parts, it came out to 120 something pages, single space, on Google Docs. That was a week and a half of research, picking my own brain, and just typing a lot. And I was also speed running every single day during this, and it was like before I like figured out my diet and stuff. So I had a lot of inflammation, and that was something that was gonna, you know, come back to bite me in the ass later. The first video took around a week of editing. It was done in a week. And I think that during the editing process of part 1, Rehydrated's release date was announced. It was like late April. So that's when I knew like we weren't going to have much time. Like we weren't going to be able to finish all 4 parts before the game came out because we had no idea when it was coming. And when we realized it was that soon, I had to make a decision. Make 3 parts that suck balls or make 1 more part that was going to be really good. So as you all know, this is what happened, and I spent the 40 days that I had left making this. I think this one was done in like a little under 30 days. It was like a little under, it was like 27 or something like that, and then I finished the rest of it in like 10 was like for polishing because I had a little bit of time left over. But that's why this one came out so much better than the first one, not just because also like I also had like my own personal experience like playing during this era. Would you say, how much of this would you say is opinionated? I think that this is a very fair representation of what happened. I would even say that I undercredit myself in this video for how much I contributed to the game during this time. I really tried to make it fair, more than fair, to the people who I knew, if I didn't make these videos, would get overshadowed and not talked about. There are entire sections dedicated to people who didn't necessarily even find strats or hold records in the game, but were an important part of our community and helped make it what it was back then. So I wanted to make sure they got their fair share of time and not just only talk about myself, because really, if we're going to be honest, like 95% of the effort that was put into the game that year was me. And that's why I, you know, emerged from that year as a potential full-time streamer, and I had all this other great stuff going for me as well because of the amount of effort I put into the game. But I think that's a lot less interesting as only talking about the world record holder and the person who's finding most of the strats, because it's just not really a community aspect. And that's what most people would have gotten out of it if they only watched that. Just what happened based on the world records, because there's so much more. And thankfully, like, I was able to create this myself, and I know what was going on the ground that people weren't necessarily seeing because they weren't watching my stream. Because at one point, yeah, there were a couple other streams that were averaging a lot of viewers like mine was, but that was more just the initial hype and people just curious about the game. It wasn't until later that year, around like October, November, that we really started to form a community around the game. And by then, it was just everybody watching my stream, and they were missing all the other stuff that was going on. Yeah, no, it was a great scope, but there is like one thing as well that I think was also a little bit stretched, but I think it was necessary to make it more dramatic and cool the way things happened. Did you guys know that Cole was still playing the game when I was playing? Like at the very start when I first started playing this game, and in late March 2016, Cole was like still, he wasn't actively playing the game, but his final stream where he came back and played all of his games for one final time, that happened while I was actively running. Like when I was first getting into it in very early April of that year, I'm pretty sure. So in part 1, we ended it by talking about Cole just finishing up his career and retiring. But really, the two parts kind of merged together a lot closer than you'd realize. So he actually did finish his whole, like last hurrah stream while I was starting to get into streaming. But it would have been a little bit less, climactic if we had talked about that in a different order. It just wouldn't have been as cool. And it's not even like it's that important when he did that final stream anyway, because it wasn't a record or anything like that. It's not like we're putting it on a timeline with the other records in the game. It could have happened at any point. So yeah, Fuff had already started playing months since, and, he probably got help from Cole, at least when he was first starting to run the game. But, does it really matter that much? I don't think it matters that much. But I would say that, everything, at least from the point that I start running all the way up to the end of the video, is all in order of how things happened. Actually, there is one more thing. Jared and I weren't really friends until, July of that year. Which I think is, somewhat relevant, because, at that point, he already had a lot of respect for me, because I'd already been grinding the game down and getting records and stuff, so, it was kind of hard for him to break the ice, because, he kind of saw that, prestige and, didn't think, he could talk to me, outright. In 2016, I didn't have the webcam, I didn't talk much, I kind of just had, this aura of being a very mysterious person. So it was probably harder just, reaching out to somebody who was, the world record holder of a game that you really respect. Because he used to watch the game back when Cole played, and already had respect for Cole. So, it was a little bit, hard to break the ice at first, I think, for him. But there was one particular stream when he was just practicing oil skip, and a couple of kids came in his chat and started causing a fuss. So I was watching when that was happening, and he was kind of putting on a show and making fun of them, and I thought it was funny, and he got me in a call, and we both started talking after that happened. So that's how our friendship started, but it wasn't at the beginning, though. We were not talking as friends at the beginning. He showed up in my chat at one point after I'd already gotten the record and said, should I relearn the game? And I said, yeah, I'm putting out a tutorial, or I already had a tutorial out at that point. See, I guess there are some things that are, mixed up a little bit in order, but yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. Jared's always been pretty respectful and humble. He had more followers than I did at the point when we were friends, and he was still a little bit cautious to reach out directly. He's always been a good kid. All right, so we're gonna do this now. I kind of want to see the build up. Is this too loud, by the way? Just let me know if it's too loud. Yeah, no problem, Lumi. Do what you gotta do. Yeah. I'm just reading the chat. I'm reading 2 chats. Yo, Konasumi in the chat. Yeah, this whole thing was not. I can lower the volume on my end if it's echoing. This whole thing was not recorded. This whole first section, I forgot to hit start recording. So it's just cool, you'll see it. In 2 minutes, you're gonna see it. When I first realized that I didn't hit go live. Some of you guys who have 2-year sub badges were not even around for this. Just think about that. Vince Gilligan and Peter Gold. Yeah, this history video also predates watching some of my favorite shows like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Attack on Titan. It doesn't predate The Last Airbender. It predates Neon Genesis, a bunch of ones that I've watched. Predates a lot of movies that I've watched too. I watched one season of BoJack. I thought it was alright. I know it's very, like, rough at the start, but I couldn't get into it. Yeah, you might have subbed after. I've watched some anime. I'm not like the crazy people who like outwardly seek like, oh, what's the next one to watch? What's the next one to watch? Thousands and thousands of episodes. Like, no, I've watched like the short ones. Like, I've seen Berserk 97. I've seen Eva. I've seen Code Geass. I've seen a bunch of them. I've seen neither of those now. Nope. Like I said, I'm not like super into it, but I've seen some. It's kind of shitty. Like this whole chat was offline. People were here because I said be here at 8 p.m. or whatever time it was starting, and people were just all getting hype in the chat with no countdown. Like, this is how hype the chat was offline. There was no countdown.
What's up, everybody? We finally made it, right? This is the moment. We've been talking about this for so long, like it's been over a month. You know, people were just.
I didn't realize it was offline either because look at how people are so excited.
I wrote the script for all 4 parts in April, and I'm really nervous right now. I've been going through and working on each video in order, based on the script that I wrote, and I've edited some stuff, and loaders helped add and tack on some things and change some wordings of things. So it's a long process.
They have no idea
That's
I'm
why
talking.
It takes so long to get these out. I just want to say right now, you know how like television series have like a mid-season finale, and then there's like you gotta wait a while to get the next like set of episodes. Well, this is gonna be like the mid-season finale, because after this we're gonna be watching and doing rehydrated stuff. So after the summer, I'm going to get back to work on parts 3 and 4.
See, they're starting to notice
Hopefully
I'm not
by then,
live.
My video editing skills are even more ironed out, so I can bring you something even better. We're going to be even more ambitious than we were on this one. You'll see here. We put a lot of effort into this, and I'm really excited to show you this 90-minute.
And we still hit like 1,800 viewers at some point during this stream too. That was all us.
This is where it all
That was just this
began.
community.
After Colin Hazel retired from, creating the foundations that made this game so great, people rediscovered it and made it what it is today. And this is the video that establishes how we set foundations of the community that still exists.
I guess I started my stream at 7:57.
It's a little
and it was supposed to count down and start at 8.
And,
Thanks, Fade, for the 3 months.
I'm just gonna stop jittering and being nervous, and hopefully you guys enjoy. I'm just gonna show you guys.
Yeah, they're all like, where the fuck is he?
Without further ado, here we go.
I think that we started it and realized it wasn't live.
Battle for Bikini Bottom, Part 2.
When did I fucking realize that it was
2012
offline?
Through 2015, we followed a small group of friends as they built a community.
When did it happen?
surrounding one of their favorite
It
games.
can't be that long.
But after several years of revolutionizing their passion project, Battle for Bikini Bottom.
I don't know how I didn't,
was
because like the
once
chat was
again
moving so quickly. I don't think I ever.
But little did they know, it wouldn't be for long.
I don't think I've ever had an offline chat that was that fast. So I just didn't know. At what point did I realize that it wasn't playing? I think when the guy said shift is dead, that has to be it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm
Because at this point I was for sure reading the chat.
Is part 2 of how speedrunning revived Battle for Bikini.
Because I wasn't reading the chat when I was... Yep, there it is. Yeah, I wasn't reading it when I was talking. Yeah, there it goes. Damage control.
Hey everyone, so I am really... as you could probably imagine, I'm super nervous right now. I just did a whole intro and recorded that whole thing and started the video, and I forgot to hit start streaming. I have the recording.
This is what you guys remember.
Everything I just said for proof that I straight up started at like 7:58 and I forgot to hit start streaming. So I had the whole local recording if you're curious. Since we've already...
This is why I don't get rid of anything,
2
man.
minutes. I'm just gonna.
You can always get
now,
more data, but you can't get more of these memories,
video,
I
a
guess.
lot of effort went into this video. Pretty much all I said was, it's gonna take a while for parts 3 and 4 to come
double
out
overlaid
because
subs.
This is pretty much a
Thanks,
mid-season
Andy, for the
finale
resub.
where you gotta wait for the rest of the episodes after the half of the
Yeah,
season's
dude, I just
over.
didn't know. Like, thousands
We're
of
gonna do a
people
lot
were
of
there, and they were
rehydrated
just
stuff over the
talking, and
summer.
I'm
We're
just
gonna
like,
do
okay,
all
they're just
that,
talking.
And then we're gonna come back to working on parts 3 and 4 after the summer's over, once my video editing skills are ironed out and everything. even more.
Yeah,
than we've
this
already
this
gotten through in
predates
these.
like
I
all of
can't
the
even
shows
talk.
that have like
I can't believe I
inspired
forgot
me
to hit start
since
streaming.
then.
Okay. All right. Let's just get right to it. 'Cause
This
I don't
all
wanna
just
make you
came from
guys
my
wait
head.
any longer. Okay. Yeah, we were gonna do an epic countdown, but yeah, I kind of screwed up. It's all right though. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Put it on right now.
This was so big, dude. This
From
was definitely the
2012
peak.
to 2015, we followed a small group of friends as they built a community surrounding one of their favorite games.
And we reused
But after
this
several years
this
of revolutionizing
flourish
their
graph
passion
of the
project,
world records a
Battle for
lot.
Bikini Bottom was once again left behind.
Yeah, see, like I said, the
little did
the
they
moment when he retired was like that had not happened at this point in the timeline, but we pushed it earlier just to make it cooler. But you could already
Ladies and
tell, like, at
gentlemen,
the start of this,
I'm
it's gonna be
Simon,
way different than the
and
first
this
one.
is part 2.
That's why I kept my mouth
Speedrunning.
shut. I kept my mouth shut on this because I didn't want people to... I'm just gonna turn this... I'm assuming it's probably a little bit loud. I'm just gonna turn it down a little bit. I assumed that people
With the growth
were gonna
of
get
speedrunning from
blown away
2012
if I
to
just kept my mouth
2016
shut
came a
about
new
this.
sense of competitiveness
Like how
in the
good
hobby.
the second one
The
was
advent of
compared to the
open
first one.
broadcaster software and a high abundance of products used for retro game capture made recording
Because they were already saying it's like, oh, it's 10 out of 10, it's perfect. And I'm like, oh, no, it's not. But I'm not going to say anything because I want people's expectations to get blown away. Maybe we could do that. I mean, I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet because I haven't started working on them yet. But I'm getting back into editing videos now.
Thousands. Platformers especially became the leading titles in the charge to make speedrunning.
Yeah, this is also a pretty old video. Let's just put it that way.
On a 3D platformer that was off the radar.
But yeah, this is like a typical. It's super quiet. I'll just leave it at this. Yeah, but like, I think that a pretty reasonable principle to go by when you're working on something like this is kind of treat it like TV or like movies, where when you do a sequel, you got to expand the universe a little bit, So, we talked about the humble beginnings of Battle for Bikini Bottom, but like the questions that people are gonna have in the second one is like, how does it fit in with the other speedruns, Like, what's the rest of the speedrunning landscape looking like right now? So I wanted to bring in the perspective of like, look at these other people who are famous for playing their games. Look at how big Twitch is. Look at how this is becoming a career for some people. Like, speedrunning is not just like playing a game and keeping it around. It's becoming something more than that.
We'll be focusing on
And also you have like
platformer
the added accessibility of the capture cards and stuff like that. It's important historical context, because like without this, we wouldn't have this. Like, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for this, and Shift could never have existed if it weren't for these tools. And people like this who are doing like stuff other than just playing games. Like, this is how you bring life to a community.
In the chart, be focusing on a 3D platformer that was.
Yeah, you need to have context to appreciate this stuff. You can't just be talking about who got records and talk about it like it's the Olympics. There's so much more than just that. Yeah, exactly.
And a variety of advanced and technical strategies. Cruise boosting especially transformed BFVB into a.
And it's important to
true
give
platform
credit
game
to
that
the original
centralized
strats and
its new
stuff and
unique movement system.
really put it into perspective of like, when you go from nothing to something, it's always going to seem insane. Like normal speed cruise boosting and sponge gliding and stuff like that. Like, that was crazy for going from nothing to having that. That's a lot.
Right?
That's a lot.
Well,
But clearly there was more to figure out, and it was not pushed as far as it could go. This was just one of those games that had people playing it here and there, but it was way, way harder than most of these smaller licensed games that didn't get much attention. It was way, way smaller.
and the community hadn't received any.
And it was kind of stuck
exposure
because nobody
in
could
a
learn
very
how to
long
do this
time.
stuff. It was
This
too
in
hard.
stark contrast to most.
Like
of the
Cole was
popular
just so
speedrunners
much
of
better
this
than
era.
everybody, and
They
he was
offered
not
an
very
abundance of
articulate
learning
with how to
resources,
explain
were
things. So
optimized on more
it was kind of in a
popular
situation
speedrun
where,
consoles.
yeah, the game was
Supported
tough, but
by
it wasn't
streamers
too
popular
tough, you
enough
know?
to be
It's not like it is now, where it's just
learned
non-stop
from
frame-perfect
niche.
fuckery. It's just
The more
that
established
people couldn't really
communities
figure it
attracted
out.
entry-level speedrunners by the dozen, and due to the amount of effort being put into them, they evolved and optimized.
You see all this competition
crazy
here
fast.
with other
Though
games at
BFGB
the
had
time.
its few visionaries and creatives, it had never been developed on a scale nearly that large. So, even after its complete transformation, Battle for Bikini Bottom surely had
A lot of
at
these
least
edits are just like
one
very
more
low-level
hidden
stuff that I'd
potential,
learned how to do
just
in like a very
practically
short amount of time
begging to be
too.
explored. But it would take the fresh
Pretty
ambition
basic
of
keyframing,
new,
masking.
competitive runners to decipher the mechanics of Cole's arcane tricks and use them in full runs of their own. And still, if the game were to survive,
But yeah,
and
this whole
thrive,
video
it would
is structured
also
like
have
an
to address
essay.
the
We
community's
point out the
flaws
main
and holding
points.
back
I mean, this is just like a
Battle
classic
for
like
Bikini
thesis
Bottom would
here.
eventually need someone with motivation to not only make the game faster, but also to solve these issues outside of the game as well.
Oh yeah, we did the rehydrated relief too. Like if you look at the chat, we donated all of the subs and bits and stuff and resubs to the rehydrated charity. That was fun. I think we raised like $4,000, didn't we? Purple Lamp donated $750 actually during that session, the rehydrated relief. That was fun. But yeah, we talk about like we need to get people playing the game to find more strats. We need somebody to motivate people to play, and we need resources that will allow people to actually play.
Eventually need someone with motivation to not
And then we
only
go
make
through the
game
body of
faster,
the
but
essay,
also
which
to
is
solve
the
these
beef
issues
of the video,
outside
where we
of the
talk
game as
about
well. But as a
these all
community so
things,
small,
these things all
so
coming to
unmotivated,
fruition.
it seemed like it
Just
would
feels a
never
lot
be
more
life
complete
like it
than the
once
first
saw
one.
Ever again.
Just much more
That is, until
narrative
December
driven.
5th, 2015, when an 80% speedrun in 1:19:25 offered a glimmer of hope. The speedrun was uploaded
Yeah,
by user
things are kind of just coming together now, where a lot of the really
Why
hard
is this
stuff is like
significant?
coming back into the run and
Well,
being used.
It was his
How long did part 2 take? I think that it was done in 30 days, but I can't remember. I think that I was an hour and 10 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes into it when I got injured. Like my wrist and my elbow both had tendonitis from working on this so much. So I was editing the rest of it with one hand, and that was tough. It was originally going to be an hour and 40 minutes long, but I cut stuff out because it was getting too long. And a lot of the skits, like the Josh skit and the Ringo skit with Eminem and stuff, like that was all done. Like it was kind of like I had markers where I was going to put them, but we didn't have them finished yet. I don't know, Walt. I haven't even started editing videos again, really. Well, I started working on that Speedrun Explained video, but I still have to hold myself accountable for finishing it.
his first upload ever and an immediate second place spot. It wasn't known until later that
I think
Prophet
it's cool
spent
to talk
previous
about this
month
stuff, like,
learning and
I mean, like,
practicing
clearly, I
the
mean,
speedrun
like, minus 38, like,
on
come
his
on.
own,
The
referencing
game
past
wasn't really
runs.
that, well, I guess it wasn't a world
Pfaff had
record, but
been one of
still.
the few players up until
Nah,
now
never
who
mind.
took the initiative
I
to
misread.
dissect Cole's runs and figure out exactly
This is one of
who
the things
played
that I
on his
wanted
own,
to
referencing past runs
mention
of
as
the
well.
game. Pfaff had been one of the few
It's not really
players up
clear where to
until now
look.
who took the initiative
You kind of get, like, an idea of, like, where the strats are, but I'm kind of just, like, throwing stuff onto the
to
screen.
dissect Cole's
And I don't
runs
want to, I mean, like, obviously I'm joking about it, clearly, but, like,
figure out exactly what the man had done.
it's not very,
So
there's
fast.
definitely a
For
better
such a
way
small
of showing
community,
stuff than
his
just, like,
motivation
throwing
and
stuff
drive
around.
was impressive.
Whoa, what's
Not to
going on
mention the
here?
fact that he was actually able to finish learning
Everyone to
the
talk
game
about the process.
would
I
be
can at
far
one
too
point.
intimidating for many to tackle.
I actually get that now, because I hadn't played Dark Souls. At this point, I had not played the game. This is Loader's recommendation to put this in.
Pfaff's sudden appearance caught the interest of many Torment runners in the community. His appearance from the shadows and his lightning.
But yeah, I guess it actually is relevant that he came out with a second place run and he's like -4 to get second place. Yeah, no, that is relevant, because the gap between first and second place is like straight up 10 minutes at this point.
Fast learning showed the retirees that their passion project still had life left to live. Back in the old days, Cullen hated
And yeah, like, of course, at the time, This is more just like speaking what the audience is thinking. Nobody was thinking like, oh, we got to keep the game alive. We have to, you know, grind the game to keep it alive. Like, this is just really just my attitude, and by that a reflection of the community now, their attitude, and the viewers' attitude toward the game. Like, the game has to stay alive. But these are just kids playing a game.
Hazel rarely attempted
These are
runs
kids just
outside of
playing a
races.
game, you know.
Cole cites
It's
there
not that
wasn't much motivation
complicated.
to grind due to the
Nobody
community's
was
small
thinking about the
size
game
and
like
low
that.
interactivity. But Fuff was a solo grinder, and by the end of January,
In other words, Fuff was the
2016,
only person
he'd
up until
improved
this
his
point
time
who had
from
motivation to grind a
1:16.06
game
on
without
game.
like racing for
And
fun.
at the beginning of February, he had
So he was the
already
first person to
acquired
kind of
an
come
Xbox
here with that
360 to
attitude.
keep pushing
And like I
for
said, like, this is an attitude that a
was
lot
on
of people
track to
had who used to
become
watch, you
Guinness
know,
World Record
all these competitive other speed
Fuff's
runs. Even
speedrun
like
grind
Smash, I think, had a
garnered
pretty
steady
big
following
influence on
while he
speedrunning. There's a lot of
streamed
crossover
the
between those
premier
two.
live stream platform for gaming.
But yeah, around this time, Twitch was starting to
With new
get bigger.
activity in the game's
Speedrunning
directory
was
on
already
Twitch,
like,
viewers
it already
who
had its foot in the
previously
door
lost
because of
interest in
Siglemic
began
and
checking out
Narcissa
Fuff's
Wright
With
and
a
all the
humble
other people
average
who
of 10
started
viewers,
stuff with
he'd
like
stream silent
ZFG and
attempts with
whatnot.
intent to improve the 80% world record. Though a mysterious character
Yeah,
at first,
yeah, of
Fuff
course.
started to communicate with his viewers
I
by
mean, of
typing
course,
in
like,
chat and
you really
expressed
just need
interest in
one
helping
person
them
to
learn
show people
strategies
like
that
this
he'd
is
come to figure
worth
out on
being
his own.
taken
One of
seriously.
his viewers, Jared
Especially with a
Grimes,
SpongeBob
had
game,
interest in
like,
BFBB
people
during the cold days,
need
but
to
never went through with learning
see some
due to
form of
the run's
validation.
inaccessibility. Now,
Like, there's a personality people can rally behind, like, oh, this person takes it seriously, I can take it seriously too.
Yet another glimmer of hope for those who thought.
Did you want the link to the dual component cable? No, I'll figure it out when I get to it. This is the last time the world record was competitive, was during this history part. Myself and Fuff. I mean, I guess like the only two times it was ever competitive was between Cole and Hazel and myself and Fuff, but yeah, I guess that's it. There's those two countries. I mean, these days there isn't really a lot of Canada on the boards. It's all just like, it's all just the United States.
Thought the community had reached its expiration.
Also, this is funny.
Yet another glimmer of hope for the.
I can't, like, oh, dude. This is so nostalgic, this downtown route, just like walking around and stuff. This looks so old now compared to the stuff that we're doing now, but like this, it doesn't feel that old to me, if you know what I'm saying. Yo, Quantum, yeah, I'm doing alright. We're rewatching this for the anniversary. Another cool thing about this part is that we had the recorded Twitch chat at this time, like these videos still had the recorded chat. And I remember that at one point when I was working on this, there was some rumor that Twitch was deleting all the VODs and highlights before a certain point. I was like, uh-oh. This is a bad time. I think that YouTube also announced they're going to be like deleting all unlisted videos before 2016 or something like that at some point. I don't remember if that was before or after, but I know I was thinking about them relative to working on these videos. Like, this could be a problem.
Witnessing something spectacular. And though he only communicated through chat on some occasions.
Oh, this is a classic. The momentum jump.
On March 5th, 2016.
Pretty nice save.
Get his first big break.
The song used here is from a game that Fuff also held the world record in at one point, A Hat in Time. You guys have probably heard of it, but it's kind of old at this point. It was a 2017 game. It came out right before Super Mario Odyssey, so it kind of got overshadowed a little bit. Does he still speedrun? I think he does. I think he's like top 10 and getting over it. I don't think he speedruns A Hat in Time anymore. I think he has like a something under the 145 mark in Super Mario 64 120 star. Yeah, he's a really solid speedrunner. But yeah, this is where he started, man. I think this was his first game. And respect to him.
For the first time,
this is something that people probably wouldn't like remember or talk about as much because, like, you know, I just fucking destroyed the game that year, so people would, you know, if I feel like if somebody made a history video on the game, they'd probably just try to cut to the chase and talk about what happened that summer and onward and like GDQ and stuff, but I really wanted to make sure this got its fair time. He's 29th now. I remember him being higher than that.
Pick up Cole's unfinished 100% within game codes project. With experience collecting every spatula.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that A Hat in Time got overshadowed by Odyssey, but it is what it is. Also, check it out, the 200%. Before SBA, there was a category where people cheated in the shiny objects and spatulas and cruise boosting and stuff. to make the
Fuff
game
would soon
faster.
achieve the first
That was how
108
people did
rebuttal for
100%
Bikini
back in the day,
100%
because
on
100 was
March
not very
15th,
popular.
2016.
I never personally
Though
ran
Fuff's
that.
world record still used the route set forward by Cole and the former
I couldn't get
still
into it. I
some
just didn't
small
like the cheating.
optimizations that stood out. Fuff's runs showcased early attempts to manipulate Robo Sandy's clothesline.
And he
move
was
by
eventually
luring
the
her
one who
to the
figured
edge of
this
the
out.
stage, which would
We
cause it
still
to
use those
initiate
manipulations
early
today.
And in the Robo Patch
That gets
boss
mentioned
fight,
at some
he
point in
tried
this video,
manipulating
too.
the spins from a different position than those who came before him. Still, however, this strategy gave
Yeah,
inconsistent.
interestingly, the strategy we use now, actually, he can't land in the back. Like, that spot, he just can't land there now unless you mess it up. Shout out to Alex97 for figuring that out. That's going to be in part 3.
Fuff also made better use of the note cycle in Squidward's Dream to make the segment much more consistent. His understanding
waiting
of
instead of
Cruise
just
Boost
darting
mechanics
for
was
it,
also
you know.
impressive.
I mean, like, you could tell, like, by the way he
His
plays here,
understanding of Cruise Boost
it's
moves
not the fastest shit in the world, but, like, just
Different
watch how
mechanics was
patient he
also
is. Like,
impressive.
just he uses
Segment
cruise boost
was
momentum
consistent.
to
His understanding
kind of
of
get
Cruise
pushed
Boost
a little
movement
bit and
mechanics
just...
was also impressive.
That's how we
How
used to do
recently
it, like,
it's
kind of like with a setup.
The new world record holder was
It was
making
all
an
about
effort to
consistency
polish
at this
the game
point,
he
because,
inherited,
like,
allowing for
Cole's
more
movement
consistent
was, like, not
paces
very
and
ironed out. He kind of
faster
just went from trick to trick.
Fuff again improved
And
his
Fuff
world
kind of,
record
like,
to 108.24
emphasized movement a little bit
March
more, but he was still
28th.
more
By now,
focusing
the
on
stream
setups and
community
stuff.
was far
Hey
more
Zim, thanks to
established and
53, man.
supported his efforts to
Part 3
optimize
is
the
everything
game.
from
Some members
post
of the older
GDQ up
community
to the
even
summer
returned
of
to watch Fuff's
2018.
improvement, and they were eager
So
to
the
ignite
first
the chat
55.
whenever he entered the final boss
It'd
at a
be
record pace. It was
post GDQ
reminiscent
to the first
of the
55,
good
yeah.
old days. Fuff's dream was slowly uniting
Also,
all of
doing
Bikini
ballroom
Bottom
in your
fans
any
of
percent
past
speed
and
run.
present, yet still, many could not get over the hurdle of learning the speedrun. Fuff had continued some of Cole's previous projects, but not his
I thought about
previous
remaking the
series.
first one,
Unlike Jared, most people were more than reluctant to
but
ask a stranger to
there's
do
no
stuff
point in
for
doing that right
speedrun.
now.
However,
These are still good.
existed the possibility of another brave soul taking the Fuff approach and
Yeah,
learning
man,
entirely
ballroom in your
from
speed
that
run,
moment.
baby.
A stream titled "Ruining Your Childhood" began appearing more and more.
I
frequently
don't
on
want
Bikini
to
Bottom
even, like, this, it took so much effort to remake this. Notice the cover image is the PAL version of the game, upper left corner. I sat for so long trying to make this look decent. And the funny thing is too, like, we waited so many years to get the real cover with the iconic, you know, salute. It took so many years to eventually get them to switch that over to what it's supposed to be. But at the time, this is just a little throwback and a shout out to the people who played the game back then, because that's what it used to be. It used to have the PAL game cover with the little salute. I wanted it to be as accurate as possible.
Directory alongside Fuff's, where he'd recently achieved the first one.
That was a little bit, you know, that transition was a little bit rough, but, you know, we were, you know,
100% speedrun. During his leave,
it still looked
this
cool.
other channel became
The effort was
hotspot
there, the
for
heart was
interested
there.
Community members to watch 80% speedrun.
Also, shout out to the
And this
Rainbow
channel was
Splits.
run by another up-and-comer, Shift.
I brought it
HD.
back for a little bit when Moist
And
Critical
Shift was
watched the
already
game.
in the low 120 range on the
I think,
GameCube
right?
version when
Yeah.
others started to take notice. Another
Maybe
runner
for a couple of
motivated by
days.
his own will to learn and grind the game during an era void
I think
of
that stuff is
resources.
funny. Like, you're like, oh, I wonder if people still play the game. You check and you see the ruining your childhood thing. It's funny looking at this now after playing Dark Souls and having an appreciation for the game.
And much like
Because I didn't
Fuff,
know what that was
he'd
when I
suddenly
first did
become
it. Loader was just like,
out
you
of
should do this. And I'm
nowhere
like, alright,
with
it's
a
funny enough.
mysterious background. But within several streams, Shift started opening up to viewers and began talking about picking up the
Yeah, I
Xbox
think that,
version of
like,
the game
straight from the
for further
beginning, I wasn't
improvement.
thinking about
And once
building
it
a community,
arrived,
but I
he
just
kicked
wanted
it
to talk to
into
people a little
high
bit.
gear,
I wasn't
which
using my
attracted the
microphone, I was
attention
just
of other
typing in
speedrunners
chat, but it
interested
was
in
fun
PvP.
interacting.
At this point, Shift wasn't really involved in the
And yeah, I was
community
fucking
surrounding the
cracked.
game, though. He was
I
only
got good
aware
at
of
this
Hayes'
game so
80%
quickly.
task,
Within,
which piqued
like,
his interest
a
in
month and a
Cruise
half, I
Boost
was
and
already,
Cole's
like,
former world record
thinking
from which
about
he
getting
learned
world
the rest of
record.
the game.
But it was
He
also just a
kind of
very
on
small
his own
game with
island,
not a lot of people
just
running it.
doing his thing, day after day. It wasn't until Shift met Konasumi from a Twitch raid that he'd finally
Yeah,
began getting
and,
to
like,
know
again,
some
just
people.
little things that people wouldn't have picked up on if they weren't here, or if they weren't me, because my memory is insane. Like, I remember how, I mean, like, the thing is, too, like, I feel like everybody can attest to this, that the first person that reaches out to you and offers kindness and friendship in any community is going to be the person you remember the most. So he was the first person who reached out to me, and like he rated me with like 20 viewers, and I'm like, oh my god, 20 viewers, like I never thought that 20 people would be watching me at the same time. And of course, like I wanted to reciprocate the kindness. Also, shoutouts to having two different, like look at the splits on the right. I didn't know how to use live split. I had the normal splits and like sub splits, so like you had two of them running at the same time. Such a fucking mess. Like I went from having like the most scuffed layout of all time to having like the most polished, advanced layout in all of speedrunning. Just humble beginnings, man. But I wanted to make a tutorial so he could get into the game. Just in general, I was starting to grow more passionate about it. I wanted more people to play it. Also, like, look at how fucking slow this is, but it's so cool. You ever consider that like slamming into this wheel? I don't see it here, but like it's just the perfect height to land on the nut.
At the time this competitive, it would assure the explanations in the video were at least decent
God.
enough to help his new friend learn the run.
This is so classic, man.
The creation of the guide, as
This is so classic.
Prospective runners.
Also, I did like the random like floating shit, and Jared actually tipped me off here, said like you should really just make this cleaner and make them like go side to side, like the right eye and the left eyes, kind of like going side to side, and I add the little like growing shit in the middle. It's like shout outs to Jared for giving me a little tip on like keeping this cleaner here. He's got good ideas, man. He should stream more and make videos. He'd be good at it. Look at this movement. Look at this early beta movement.
His primary motivation
Shift
behind
HD
achieving
beta
this goal
version.
was allowing himself to create the
How'd you get the timeline stuff in the video? That was Maximum who did that. Maximum took the speedrun.com data and put into there. I think that was the first time he'd done something like that with like data visualization. He's done more with it since then, but this might have been the beginning of Maximum doing shit with that, yeah. Like, I don't remember how it came up with him, but I pulled him onto the project because he was willing to help. And I know he does like videos and stuff like that now, but this might have been like the beginning of that. I don't know. I don't remember.
For Kona and the rest of the small community beginning to form around his channel. And at this point,
this chat was, dude, since the very beginning, this fucking chat was a shit post. You guys are just, you guys never changed.
Curious to anything outside of his own community, and the same could be said for the other small communities on their own island.
This was his jump start to YouTube? Really? Has he said that? That's really cool. Yeah, a bunch of people worked on this video. Like, we had our own music composed for this too. Limitations breed creativity, man. We couldn't use Ramblin' Man from Gremlin. Like, you know how SpongeBob used the stock music? Like the stuff that I use for my audio alerts. Yeah, there's the guy who made it right there. But it ended up being so much better than what we originally wanted to use. It just fit the vibe so much better with the guitar chords and stuff.
As well. That is, until an elder member of the mainlands.
AJ doesn't get enough credit in this video, but I thought about making a part 1.5 where it's all centered around him going to GDQs and playing the game for people in the practice rooms and getting shit on for playing it. And some people thought it was cool, but generally people didn't give him enough respect for playing the game. And he was never a world record holder or contender, but he still showed the game off to people during that period where nobody was competing. Like Cole had stopped playing after he got his 112 or it was 109. And all throughout 2015, he would like show people the game and stream it on Twitch, and he kept it around. And that just should go to show, like, this game was not free, man. Like, he tried to get that record and he couldn't get it. Cole was really good at the game. And then Fuff was even better than him. And then, like, you know, it was just always... It was always a game that had, like, good people playing it. But yeah, AJ was... He was, like, one of the first ambassadors. He might actually be the literal first ambassador of this game. He was the first person to really, like, champion the game and be like, this shit's sick as fuck. You guys should respect it more. But, like, that's the thing is, like, he didn't have, like, the record or, like, the, like, I guess, like, the glamour, you know? So, like, people didn't, like, take it seriously. People didn't take me seriously as well. I honestly feel like people did not have any respect for this game until, like, maybe, like, maybe a couple of years ago. A year or 2 years ago. Yeah, I mean, it took a long time, but, like, he was the first one. He was the first ambassador of this game. I kind of want to remake part 1 to talk about more stuff like that. and not dwell on certain things as well. Because I think it could all be done better, but maybe someday. But yeah, I just want to make sure that gets out there that he was that guy, you know.
Invited both Shift and Fuff to the new Battle for Bikini Bottom Discord server.
I'm not sure if that's exactly how it happened, but gotta keep things concise. I think that it might have been Fuff who invited me. I don't remember, but AJ was the one who, like, indirectly got us both in there. And that Discord server, we didn't talk about this in this video because it was just too much drama for one video, but the guy who was running that server back in the day, like, none of us had, like, any permissions to do shit because he, like, enabled 2FA and, like, it was, like, way too strict. And he was the only admin who had the ability to, like, edit channels and stuff. And the funny part is he never even ran the game. Back in the day, the SpongeBob speedrunning community was condensed into one Discord server just called SpongeBob. And the guy who ran it never ran any of the games. He just kind of, like, ran the server. But his role in the server was King Neptune. And the moderators under him were just, like, you know, the record holders, former record holders, people who find strats and stuff. And they were just called Neptune's jesters. So we were kind of just like his subjects almost. It was so fucking weird. But we eventually just said, fuck that, we're going to make our own Discord server. So, like, I mean, we were just like kids. We didn't even tell him that we did it. We just did it behind his back. That's the current Battle for Bikini Bottom Discord server today. And it was just condensed down to only this game and the SpongeBob movie. Like, it was BFBB, TSSM, and eventually we kicked them out. But that's a whole different thing to get into. But that was how it all started. Like, that Discord server that we have now that people use to run the game with like 3,000 or 4,000 people in it, that's the one that we ended up making. Yeah, this is basically part 2.5, the Lost Levels. Well, that's a pretty terrible comparison because that's not actually what the Lost Levels is, but that's an interesting story if you want to look into the history of the Mario Bros. Games. Yeah, this is really, this is bringing back memories, man. Dude, the SpongeBob Discord server with the low-res image of Battle for Bikini Bottom off-centered. That shit was classic. Yeah, what's up, Christian? But yeah, the BFBB Discord server went up in like September of 2016. That's the one that we use now. Part 3 had a lot of shitters. Yeah, but we're not going to give them credit. We'll mention that, like, the important thing to take away from that is that we finally started cracking down on people's behavior in 2018. And that led to some resentment and some harassment. And that's really all we have to talk about. We don't have to go in the specifics of shit. We don't have to talk about the doxing necessarily. You know, we had some pretty shitty people surrounding the game. But a lot of games have shitty people surrounding them. They don't deserve credit, though. Let's continue.
Of 2016.
The BFBB Discord server is just like a fucking, like, man, this shit had some history, dude. But yeah, like, there are a lot of games like that, especially back in 2016 when speedrunning wasn't even that big. And don't even at me at this shit. No fucking game was competitive in 2016. I mean, Mario 64 wasn't even under an hour and 40 minutes, and let's be real, like they found some strats, but it's like not that much different, right? It's not that much different. Like the game's nothing was fucking competitive back then. So like just this attitude to get good at stuff was kind of just starting then. Like that was like the start of like Cheese 05 getting really good at Mario. That was the start. 2016 was the year that Nindide broke out and showed people like what it actually meant to be good at Sunshine. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is when it was all kind of just starting, the competitive, like, hardcore attitude of speedrunning. Like, we kind of just came in at just the right time.
Fuff and Shift being the only ones actively running and streaming the game, the rest of the reawakened community was anticipating and hoping that Shift would rise to the occasion.
And, like, this is exaggerated. I'm really just speaking from the perspective of the audience. Like, people want to see the world record competition if they're watching the history videos, but like in the community it was like, you know, just playing the game. Hardly anybody even watched it. I mean, there were like maybe like 10 to 20 people who watched Fuff, and they eventually started watching me. Like, that was really the start of my stream, was like Fuff's viewers coming over and watching me play. Where's Fuff today? Getting Over It and Super Mario 64.
And create world record competition. Something the community had not experienced in over 2 years.
See, a nice thing about this is that we have this flourish graph that really helps fill in the gaps for where we don't have footage. When I make the next ones, I'm definitely going to try to mix it up more and have like more unique stuff. But we were on a very tight schedule with this. Like I said, this was done at the beginning of the pandemic when nobody knew what was going on. It was hard to like get people to work on stuff because it was like all remote, and it was hard to even get webcams because people were buying all the webcams for their school and stuff.
And with Fuff returning to any % to defend his time,
God,
seeing
this
his shifts
the low
improvement was
res
not
gameplay,
stopping
man.
anytime soon.
Classic.
They all
Everybody
knew
streamed at
it was only a matter of
720p,
time.
30
While Fuff
FPS,
re-rested his
classic.
80% runs, Shift
My first record, I'm not even sure. I think if I even know if it's a 107.15 or a 107.14 because it was on like the final frame, like between the two numbers. So, and because it was recorded in 30 FPS, I don't even think I could even figure out. I think I just said it was a 14 just based on like guessing. But you have like capture card frames freezing in like 30 FPS, and oh my god.
finally achieved his 109
Classic.
on May 25th, 2016. That same stream he recorded
Yeah, the
4%
graph
tutorial
the graph is
promised to
classic,
consume
dude.
the viewers he'd garnered from
These
streaming
videos,
via
like, not to toot my own horn, but these videos set a lot of standards for what a speedrun history video should be. Like, these videos kind of revolutionize the genre, I would say.
B. Within the coming months, several new
We accomplished
runners
a lot
will
with
finish learning
these.
the Shifts tutorial and submit full runs to the leaderboard. A phenomenon.
I love the foreshadowing of, like, who are these people? Oh, I noticed the doodle bob. I saw that in the beginning of the history video. I wonder who these people are.
Sites is being more fulfilling and motivating.
Yeah, it's just super cool. Going back and remembering the thought process.
Battle for Bikini Bottom any % tutorial is linked in the
Legendary
description if
tutorial.
you'd like to check it out. Though
That's what
BFBB
started
was
it all.
both Fuff and Shift's first attempt to speedrun, their community included
The
other
audio
players
on that
with
was
prior
so bad,
experience
dude.
in speedrunning.
But I really tried to like
If
go
you'd like
back
to
and
check it
forth and
out.
mix up the talk about, like, we have like the talk about the world records, we have to talk about like people getting into the game, the community, people getting better at the game, go back to the community. Like, it's really mixed in, and this whole section is like talking about the people who play the game, just introducing you to who the key players are and keeping track of people. Even though it's like quite overused, we still have like, you know, the colored names with the profile picture block above. Just the recurring information makes it really easy for people to remember who's doing what. Classic Jared running Luigi's Mansion. I think he started speedrunning when he was in like elementary school, dude. Like, to put it into perspective, I don't think he'd been speedrunning for 5 years up to this point, but it had to have been at least 4.
Luigi's Mansion, and he just rejoined the community with help from the new any % tutorial. Konasumi, who'd also developed a small Twitch following through speedrunning a variety of games,
There's
would
Hat in Time
eventually learn
again.
the tutorial as well. The new Battle
He
for
ran the
Bikini
beta.
Bottom Discord server helped to kickstart their friendships.
He was one of the first people to advocate that game.
Friendship with their passion for the game as the backbone. The community was proving its resilience even long after many thought it was curtains. The second revival was imminent, and its resilience.
That's such careful. Is that me?
Passion for the game as
I
the
think this is me.
backbone.
I can't tell.
Who'd form a much closer friendship.
Let me watch
with
it
their
again.
passion for the game as the backbone. The community was proving its resilience even long after many thought
Yeah, that's
it was
me.
curtains.
That's me. I can tell because, like,
Community
look,
was proving its resilience even
I
long
realize that I'm like overshooting this and I pull it back a little bit.
many thought it was
Yeah.
curtains.
That's definitely
The
me
second
playing. I did it
revival was
again there
imminent,
too, yeah.
And a grand occasion was needed to set it all
Yeah,
in
see that?
motion.
My control over SpongeBob was just like
Fluff would finally
so
improve
good
his
for how
overall
long I've been
record from
playing.
107.53 to 107.40 on May 28th, 2016. Meanwhile, Shift's improvement continued even more dramatically leading into June. A few days after his second 109, he landed a low 108.
This all
on June
happened
3rd.
6 years ago.
And only 2 days
Unbelievable.
later, Shift finished Battle for
Yeah,
Bikini.
so actually this is funny.
20. And
This run here was the run, like, immediately following me finally figuring out how cruise boosting works. I had no idea, like, how you were supposed to cruise boost until this point. Because, like, Cole's tutorial was just, like, so hard to follow. When I realized, like, how to... I don't even remember what it was I was messing up, but I just, like... I just had, like, an aha moment, and then I instantly started PBing by a lot. Like, that was when I really started to
Shift
figure out the
finished Battle for
game.
Bikini Bottom
Not losing, like, minutes to cruise
107.39.
boosting. started rapidly PBing so much, and that made me a little bit annoyed that like Fuff got the record like the day or something that I got that one, and it could have been a record and whatnot. But it was inevitable at this point. I was starting to figure out the game. Yeah, see, this is, again, like I said, another really crazy thing, too, is how fucking accurate this split is. Wait, did I really... I have to look this up now. There's no way that I was that accurate. Like, 107.14. Shit, maybe I changed it? Okay, I changed it to 107.14. But let's just see this. I actually did split it on 107.15.00. Like, this is like, the most impressive thing about this run is how accurate the split was, because this is actually what it was. I still don't know. I have to go back and look at it again, but I think I decided on, based on like the capture card lag and stuff, that it was a 107.14 and 59 frames, but it's recorded in 30 FPS, so we just don't know. But this is an insanely accurate split. It's so impressive for such a stupid thing. That's so funny.
Yet another new world record holder.
The stupid air horn follow. I was always into the MLG memes, man.
Both runners knew there was
I loved that when I was a kid. Fucking air horns and the quick scope.
Later, in response to Shift's first world record.
I remember I popped off when I keyed out the green, and SpongeBob still looked like somewhat recognizable here. This video is so rushed, dude. It was funny, like, watching Moist Critical's community react to this, and just complete, like, no reaction to the explosions and stuff, because when Loader and I were, like, doing the explosions in the first one, we thought that shit was so fucking funny. We were laughing our asses off, like, I was in tears with the Cole montage with the metal music and the fucking 5 times sped up gameplay. But nobody could like tell, like, outside the community, that was our sense of humor. It was just, I make them for us, but like it was culture shock seeing people like react to different things as being funny. They loved this one though, because the difference was this history video was made with the Twitch community more in mind, like putting emotes on the screen for people to like hive mind and use when they see it on the screen, like stuff that would get a reaction out of chat, you know, like it was much more catered to the Twitch experience than the first one. So it was fun to make with that in mind.
Would mirror that of Cole's and Hazel's from years ago, even to the extent.
Oh yeah, by the way, this competition was extremely drummed up in this video, but it only lasted for like 1 week.
Representing their respective countries.
I think that Fuff beating my time.
Both runners so.
When did this happen? June 9th. Yeah, it happened like a few days after I got it. No, it was like 3 or 4 days, yeah. Yeah, so, fun fact about this. Wasn't relevant, so I didn't put it in the video. I had just had my wisdom teeth removed the day after I got the world record, so I was pumped. I was like, yeah, I got the record, now I can just like relax and like not like push it too hard when I got my wisdom teeth removed. And they messed up the one all the way in the bottom in the back, and it was like, I don't want to like be too TMI, but it was pretty bad, and I was like fucked up for an entire week. So when Fuff got this record and I couldn't like compete against him, I was like, oh my god, like, this guy's gonna have the record for another week. I gotta fucking wait to play. I was so mad.
The race to 106 was on. Shift and Fuff's competition would mirror that of Cole's and
But yeah, this
Hazel's
didn't really last too long, in hindsight, I guess, because like Fuff was still capable of taking it when I had like a high 105 or something, right?
On June 11th, 2016, viewers checked into Fuff's stream to find him on insane pace, nearly 50 minutes into the run.
I don't know, it's just cool looking at the game back when it was like you could get a pace like minus 33, you know, it's just crazy.
But this run,
like that was just normal. You just see stuff like that. This guy could have skipped 105. You know how legendary that would have been if he did that? He could have totally done it too. Because he was still better than me at the time. Like he was still definitely better than me at the game. I was just more consistent. Like I just did the tricks better. Yo, what's up, Nature? And we're not really getting into like the routing stuff. I wasn't going for crazy shit. There wasn't really any crazy shit to go for, as far as I knew. Like, people weren't looking for really hard stuff because like nobody would have done it anyway. That's a big thing that we're going to talk about in the next one too, is like the fact that Fast Nut was done in a run. It's like, okay, people can do this in runs, let's look for more stupid shit. Like, that's a big part of a game's development, knowing what the record holder is willing to go for.
On June 17th, 2016, Shift finally got a promising run.
Also, it was so cool seeing like the chat like root for like USA and Canada while watching this live. You see like the chat in the bottom corner. The coffin dance meme. Another example of how limitations breed creativity. People would have gotten the joke so quickly if we had used the original song, but it takes a little bit to realize what you're listening to because of the remix, and you avoid the copyright that way too. Also, shoutouts to Nick for doing this. This was like at the beginning of like Nick's time working for me as a highlight editor too. He'd done stuff. No, I think this actually was the first thing he did for me. I don't think he'd done the sandwich driving reel yet. Maybe he did. I don't remember. But oh no, he actually this actually was the first thing he did. Like, he worked on the pirate shit, the pirate theater with Cole on the big screen. That was the first thing he did for us, I'm pretty sure. And then he worked more on these, and I'm like, hey man, you're really good at this stuff. You should do my highlight reels. And he started there. And by the end of the year, he was making like really good shit, like the rehydrated highlight reel, super good. The Among Us one, even better. Yeah, it's just it's cool.
Despite choking, Shift
humble beginnings with the highlights.
Best of 106.48, missing Fuff's.
Dude, it's so weird looking at this as like an OG video now. Just thinking about all the people who worked on this and what they're doing now. Yep, yeah, exactly. Yeah, because he tried doing it with the pants and stuff, and it didn't look good.
Despite choking, Shift did manage to get a new personal best of 106.48, missing Fuff's world record by just 5 seconds.
Yeah, it was a choke.
Fuff would need to improve his time soon if he wanted
I tried to be fair.
Title,
I tried to give us both shots for choking.
Another run into the
I tried to be as fair as possible because it is hard to stay unbiased when you're making a video that you were such a big part of.
This was his chance.
Alright, let's see it shift. I just remember that after I fucked up that Robo Sponge, I'm like, I'm never missing this again, and I just spent so much time practicing it. You know how many world records I clutched that year just from not missing that? There were so many situations where if I missed that shit, I wouldn't have gotten it. But I practiced that so much that I just never miss it. Couldn't allow it to happen after that. Also, I laughed my fucking ass off editing that on stream.
Bringing it back to the USA. With both runners actively grinding, the community wondered who would achieve the first 105.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. 106.35 to 43.27
against his full runs.
Yeah.
Differing strengths and weaknesses made the competition all that
Yeah,
much more
23
exciting.
minutes of
The team
optimization.
would continue grinding for the remainder of June, with many great
Not
paces
bad.
bleeding out under pressure. Then
23
finally,
minutes in 6
on
years.
June 27th, 2016, the first 105 in Battle for Bikini Bottom any percent.
Yeah, it's weird looking at this like
Shift
trying to look at it from
a
a
break of his own.
present perspective, like you're in the moment.
Really,
Because it really could have just been like anybody could have gotten it, and I'm like, I need to do something. I gotta like reroute the game if I want to keep improving.
And now it was
So that's when we
Fuff's
get
turn
into
to
like the
answer back.
rerouting and shit.
But Shift wouldn't
First
go
rerouting
down
segment after
without
this
a
one.
fight. Though world record competition was fun for everyone to rally behind, Fuff and Shift were ultimately working together to optimize strategies during the races for the 105.
And that's important to talk about because like speedrunning's not that serious, man. Speedrunning's not that serious. People have to know that we were still chill. We were still just working together.
5. They had worked together to optimize the sea needle bungees, where Fuff rediscovered a consistent strategy for the first.
It's like I don't like these little like motion things where I put like I overlay gameplay across more gameplay and move it. It's just like it's just hard to tell what's like what you're supposed to be looking at. I want to work on that for the next
two
one.
dives, and Shift built off of these dives to find the third.
I think that the reasoning for that was like to make sure that footage doesn't get lost. Like my mentality was I want to put as much of this in the video as possible, so like if the only thing left on this planet when this is all over is this video, it better have everything in it. I think that was what I was thinking when I was working on it.
Shift found and implemented new tech in RoboPatrick called swing stalling, which allowed for safe suspension above the arena while still dropping boxes to jump on.
And people thought I was stupid for doing this because you could just stand on the lever and wait. But I was like, no, because like, what if he lands in a bad spot and you got to pull one and then go to him? Like, if you're doing this, they're already down. You can start gliding before he lands.
Fight progressed. Fuff finished developing the modern method of Robo-Sandy manipulations that is still used
And yeah,
in
we still
runs
do
to
this.
day. Their teamwork helped Battle for Bikini Bottom reach the minute threshold, even Cole himself.
You know, even though, like, if these visuals are like very basic, they get the story across pretty well. Like, you get used to seeing the same stuff and kind of understand like what's being talked about and who's being talked about.
Believed would be the end of the...
I don't think sub 105 is possible. Dude, fucking 100%. My sum of best is sub 105 now. Think about that.
But
That's just fucking dumb. That's just fucking dumb.
Meanwhile, amidst the competition for world record, the community realized that 104 would...
Yeah, the
not be
language of the
realistically
video is pretty
achievable
clear.
with their current knowledge
You get
of
used
the
to
game.
seeing the same
Having
things
been
over and over. I
speedrunning
wish I
the
did the
for
numbers and
past
stuff
few
in higher
months,
res
Shift
though,
had
because it
become
looks bad in
knowledgeable enough
1080p.
to start making major changes to Cole's foundational route. With
Yeah,
such
see now,
scarce
like,
documentation,
it had been talked
open
about like
mindedness
which
would
tricks
be
get
needed
switched in and
to
out of the run and
complement
which
research.
spatulas get
So
switched in
Shift
and out of the
began
run in the
spending
previous
most of
video, but
his
now we're
time
getting
wading
into like the
through
real
full playlists
process, and
forum posts,
hopefully by the end of the
familiarizing
series
himself
people
with
will
the game's
understand like
varied,
how complex
yet
this shit gets.
surprisingly deep history. He had to make sure that everything...
I would say that it did include making the script because at the end of the day, I didn't understand like how capable I was of making something like this high value production for what it is. So like the skeleton for the script was kind of there, but I ended up rewriting it 5 to 6 times before I started doing this, and that was all included in the 30-day span, I'd say. Yeah, so pretty much it was all made in a month, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, but again, like my memory is pretty sharp for all this stuff, so I had mostly recalled most of it from my head instead of researching. Yo, Gandhi, thank you for the 5 gift subs. There were some cool things that I did find when I was looking through stuff though
was accounted for.
that I forgot about.
After digging through Cole's
This was one of the this is the most fun I've ever had working on anything in my entire life.
Some of the strategies forgotten between the first and second revivals. Shift believed that he had come up with a way to save half a minute in the 80% speedrun.
Which, and just think about that, like we had a half a minute reroute like in 2020, right? Like a year and a half ago we had that, 2 years ago. This game was still like hard to fucking optimize, man. Like we had to think to find shit even
Repurposing
back
an old
then.
trick with new ideas. He had rediscovered Dilemma Skip through watching Cole's full runs uploaded in 2014, which had
Yeah, it was just fun
apparently been
revisiting
dropped
stuff
by
from
the
like a year of my
Cruise
life that I
method
reflect on
of the
fondly.
game.
What's crazy though is that I didn't realize, again, just humanity, right? We didn't realize how good we had it. This is at the start of the pandemic, and I reflect on 2019 as the best year of this game's history now, and back then I was reflecting on this as the best year. I thought that 2020 was going to outdo it, but then, you know, like, it was, the first half of the year was amazing, but the second half of the year some shit happened, and it was not fun. But yeah, looking back, the 2019 was definitely the best year in this game's history. Everything was kind of coming together, and the pandemic just shot it all down. It's really just sad, yeah. So many in-person events.
Though the
It
cruise
was a lot of
method
fun.
was far easier to perform, it wasn't that much faster than the old school damage boost. By returning this spatula to the beginning of the run, Shift could now push one spatula before Industrial Park to the end of the run. If you recall our routing discussion from part 1, 40 spatulas must be
Yeah, this is all
returned
very
into
basic
Industrial
stuff
Park
compared to what we
take
do
the cruise
now.
level, which is used
But
for
you got to
cruise
remember
boosting,
that people
and
who are
34
watching this,
must
and
be
especially
done
people,
afterward to finish
if we're getting into the
So now,
mindset
by
of what was
sacrificing
going
a bit of
on in our
time
heads back
putting
then,
Patrick's
this is
team
all
right at the
advanced.
beginning of the run, he knew he could push back a spatula that would be
Yeah,
much
2019 was so
faster
good.
with cruise boosting to the end, and Shift knew just the one for the job.
2019 was the year that also just like we could have gone down a very different path. It really hinged on whether I chose to like lambaste GDQ for fucking up, or the way I ended up handling it, which was, you know, accountability for myself and them. I think that really signaled to a lot of people we're not willing to put up with bullshit, but that goes for us too, like same standard. We can't be doing bullshit as well, saying shitty words and stuff. Pretty important year, pretty pivotal year for the game's culture. And this is just fucking classic. I can talk so much about this. I think that this take took 6 hours to get. Like this take of the, hey, B-Sauce, Josh here. the prawn. That took six hours to get this take. So let's watch it again and appreciate it.
Hey, B-Sauce.
Nobody saw this coming, by the way. The whole chat. Except for Josh, of course.
In the
Classic. But yeah, once he'd gotten that first take, like when he hit the prawn. I can't even do it. The prawn. Something between there. When he hit that just right, I didn't put this in the bloopers, but we popped off so fucking hard when he hit that shit. Loader and I, like, we both went crazy, and we took like maybe 10 to 15 more takes after that, but we just knew that was the one that we had to use. How are the runs today? We're gonna go back and do more later, but I thought we'd do this because it's the, you know, the 2-year anniversary, and I wanted to take a look at it. Plus the one frames are pretty bad, so I wanted to look away for a little bit and then go back. I think at this point, any percent's much more mental than it is like just grinding as much as possible. It's pretty tough, man. Like getting into the low 43s, some hard shit.
cases of the Flying Dutchman and RoboSpawn.
But yeah, he nailed this. He did such a good job.
Above the zone spawn point plays the finishing
And
cutscene and awards
like getting this all
distracted,
together
allowing
too,
the
I
player
already
to
said that it was a
control
logistical
the
nightmare doing all this shit at the start of the
Bronze
pandemic.
trigger
Like getting him the microphone. I had to buy him a microphone and an interface to get the quality that we wanted. And even then we didn't have a mic stand, so like we had to like have him stack crates that you'd use for like groceries and like sit the mic on top of it. It was a whole fucking mess. It was so hard. And the green screen that we used was like so low quality too. I don't think that we had, I don't think that Nick, no, we were able to do this on our own. We got the green screen keyed out on our own, but I know for the Ringo one, it wasn't quite right, where like the green screen was like the light was hitting it the wrong way, and we had to help him. We had to get him to help like key it out, like mask it.
Then, right? Wrong.
Yeah, the whole like doing skits like this, I don't think that history videos for speedrunning were doing this before we did it. That fucking, he was so good in this, man. He nailed it.
Way back during Cole's days,
He was so good. Yeah, like I said, like looking back on this, it's pretty revolutionary, this video. This was the one.
Noticing the similarities between game engines, a glitch hunter named 4 decided to try this in BFBB a year later.
Yeah, pre-fame 4, by the way. He's gonna be doing all right at some point, man. He's got the drive to make videos.
It worked. 4 coined this strategy.
This is so classic, dude. Recording your screen with.
the shit out of the L trigger. With the advent of
And that's another thing too, is nobody could appreciate the fact that he swore there and like how funny that is. It's still funny like how casually he says it, but the Moist Critical audience, when they rewatched this shit earlier this year, they didn't get that. Like Josh just does not swear, and he did that for us. He was a real trooper.
prawn trigger was reachable. Hazel in the
Yeah, this is a great video.
Void, and lo and behold, the prawn was skipped.
The prawn.
Oh wow.
Shout outs to the shirt change. We made him do that. We had the idea, like I think it was Loader who had the idea, just like change his shirt, like mid thing, just change his shirt and go, oh wow. Like we had him change his shirt and then change back to the shirt he was wearing before.
Shift started using prawn skip in his any percent run.
Super inefficient, but it was funny as hell.
Early game method of defeating
Yeah, he did such a good job.
This bad.
And I really tried to only include people here, with the exception of Uncle Al because of the fish announcer voice. We tried to only include people who were just relevant to the period. And people don't know that Josh actually ran this game in 2016. He did the Robo Sandy runs back then. So even though it wasn't full game just yet, I think he started doing full game runs in 2018. He was still part of the community and he was still doing stuff.
Negligible time lost from completing.
So I wanted to include him. And he did a good job. We were originally thinking of doing, well, Loader said that he wanted to do a Vsauce parody. That was like his special request as being part of the video and like being the narrator and all. He wanted to do a Vsauce parody. And it was going to be him doing it. But like, I thought it'd be really weird if he just like came in and did the Michael Vsauce impression, even though he'd already been narrating the rest of the video. Like, he just come off as like bizarre. So I'm like, I want to include Josh in this. I wonder if he'd do it. And yeah.
Already know. And as always, Thanks for watching.
Shift began grinding runs with.
That was me. I wanted to cut him off because I thought it was funny. And then it became a running gag for the rest of the video, just cutting him off on shit.
He'd been getting some wild paces lately and didn't see the
Wild.
need to update strats just yet. Shift, on the other hand.
Yeah, look at how
spent
patient
most
he
of
is.
his attempts
See, that's the thing
resetting
is, like,
Joe's
in this era, all you had to
update
do to be good at the game was be
route.
patient
He wasn't
and be
really
good at cruise
getting
boosting.
anywhere despite running with fast
Also, I had to
attempts.
re-record that on my own, just
Playing the
missing
world
Dilemma.
record
It pained
now
me
would be
to
the
have to
time
record
strike.
myself missing something like that. But I couldn't find footage of myself missing it. From back then, at least. Yeah, just fucking this again.
Fuff
Oh,
missed
this
the
was
world
so
record by
funny.
5 seconds after failing the
I think it's
notorious
aged pretty
Rebel
well.
skip,
I think that the
but
coffin
still
joke,
managed to clutch
even
his
though it's
own
not a
105.
popular meme
After
anymore,
finishing this
it
run,
aged
Fuff
well because of
decided
the
to take an
editing and like
extended
the
break from
the
100%
different the
and focus
remix.
on 100% until the end of the summer.
Yeah, Fuff did not
World
end
record
up
competition
reclaiming the
caused
record, even though he could
indefinite
have.
Shift and Fuff
So it's
worked on
fair to
optimizing their
talk
own
about it as world
focuses
record competition, even though he
When
didn't
the
quite make
competition
it.
for first place had come to a
What's
close,
happening? We're
the
doing our
NPC
2-year
speedrun and
anniversary
Battle
of the
for
history
Bikini
video part
community
2.
both continued to thrive. On July 7th, Shift finally achieved
I made a bigger
personal
effort to
best
include
with
more
a new
music from other
concept
platformers in this
improving
video
his world
too.
record by
Just again, like keeping it with the theme of branching out to the rest of the speedrunning community. We're trying to expand the universe, so to speak.
Since his first 105, Shift had started using his microphone throughout the entire
This is the
run
real
rather
birth
than
of
just in
Shift.
specific moments to communicate.
This is the
It was a
birth
change
of the
pace
Shift
from what
rage.
viewers came to expect at this point.
Yeah, I
And
want to
allowed
get
him
him
to
on.
share all
I mean,
of
there's a
the
whole
greatest
big thing where
moments
like he moved to
and
Korea and
the
he's like getting
opposite
settled there and whatnot. And I'm still not ready to work on them, but yeah, life gets in the way. People get busy.
Where can I even cruise boost? What am I gonna do?
You know, I'm not ready to work on them right now anyway.
Some admired
I want to get
Shift's
back into
display
making
of
videos
passion,
though.
while others
Started earlier
just
today
couldn't
actually.
Members of the community questioned how Shift's behavior would impact the image of their community, while others became hooked.
And what we mean by many is like just a couple of people, because like as a percentage, like a couple of people is like half the community at this point. I think it was mostly Peanut, maybe. I don't know.
his
Some people
intense
didn't like that I
but Shift claimed
got
that
mad
they
on
allowed him to
stream.
cool
People
down
still don't
after
like
tragic
it.
time loss to avoid
You know, I don't really care.
And his
There's a point where it's
personal best
excessive, but just
seems
like
to back this
there's
up.
nothing wrong with being upset at something you care about. But you gotta be fair. You gotta be fair, people were saying at the time.
And I called the 510, by the way.
This controversy would stay relevant for the remainder of the summer, especially as other
I mean,
runners grew
I was pretty toxic at the time. I was pretty toxic toward people in my chat, for sure. But I couldn't find any examples of it.
more passionate as well.
Or maybe I just chose not to include them.
As summer progressed, the
That's
shared
classic
endeavor
though,
to revive
fucking
Battle for
Jared.
Bikini
And,
Bottom
and funny thing is though, this is still
as summer
really fucking loud, but I had to like, I swear I toned it down like 10 decibels. It was so fucking loud. I couldn't leave it that loud,
progressed,
man.
the shared endeavor to
And I like
revive
how you
Battle
just
for
see his
Bikini
name
Bottom
on the
formed a
screen
small
after that
community,
too.
which seemed to be a first in the game's history. In the old era, the runners were merely just
Oh, this is a
friendly
classic
acquaintances
bit
with a
coming
shared
up.
pastime.
This is
But
the
in this
best
new
bit
age, the community
of
would
all
break its
the
ice and become something
2.5
more than just a
hours
group
this
of
runs
friendly
for, both
acquaintances.
parts.
They'd become
I had to go back and find all their old profile pictures, make it, you know, very nostalgic. Yeah, this is the one that Music Man composed. And of course, Uncle Al. The guy's a sweetheart, by the way. He had already been like pretty popular on YouTube, making his like canned coochie stuff leading up to this. I can't talk over this. We're gonna have to. But he'd already been pretty popular. But I just kind of reached out to him on a limb, like, "Yo, do you want to work on this thing? It's a history video on a SpongeBob game." And yeah, he didn't even know. Like, I think it was his first time being commissioned for something. I'd have to assume. He'd only been doing his own stuff until that point, but like he had a lot of fun working on it, and it was awesome working with him. He was so good. There are a lot of like unheard takes that he did. He did a lot of different takes for the different lines and stuff, saying it different ways. Yeah, he did a good job. I really appreciated how much effort he put into it. Because he was just a stranger, and he's just a nice guy. I don't know.
The only thing quicker than his movement on the sticks is his lightning.
Oh, I remember typing up this guy. I was like laying on my couch with my laptop all bunched up.
Bitches to pay for.
Seriously, dude, what the f are you talking about?
This is funny as shit. This clip actually is from a future time. This was actually after the first GDQ, I'm pretty sure. This clip is from like post GDQ. But I just took the splits and superimposed them on the right side of the screen because I wanted to make it, you know, I couldn't find a clip of me saying some head-ass shit. I knew I was saying it, but I couldn't find any clips because this is before Twitch had clips. Before we actually had clips on this website, we used a thing called Oddshot to get clips, and Oddshot's dead, so we don't have any of those clips anymore. So I had to use a clip from back in 2017, or at least, like, at this point it was forward in time. And I just superimposed the splits on the right side of the screen from this point of the history video so we don't spoil the times. That was a big thing too. I tried my best to blur out the splits for most of these parts of the videos where we're showing gameplay, just so we don't spoil stuff. And at the bottom right you can see, like, behind the stuff, the YouTube overlay, like, world record is blank by shift. I had to blur that out in a lot of people's layouts too, just so we wouldn't spoil the timeline for the history videos. There was a lot of, like, post blurring and shit to not spoil stuff. But he was so good. Uncle Al killed this shit. People thought it was the real guy. People thought it was the real guy. The chat was going crazy.
If you have bitches to pay for.
Seriously, dude, what the f are you
People thought he was
talking
Mr.
about?
Lawrence.
Giants with a lifetime of experience in casino.
And again, like, this is just, like, showing instances of bad RNG in the games that he's ran in the past.
He's bound to erupt if
It's like
things take a turn.
this guy just gets pissed at games and he runs rage-inducing games.
Swagger, cold.
Oh yeah, this is another clip from
He's bound to
100%.
erupt if things take a turn.
Yeah, his 100% runs that were taking place a year and a half in the future from this, I think, right? Yeah. Something like that. Maybe a year. I was in this call. I think I, like, goofed on him. I'm like, how the fuck did you lose? You suck. You lose. Classic Jared's Giants clip. But yeah, this took place way after all this was going through.
Jelly Swagger, Cole's young ward, trained from birth by the wise sage.
Yeah, so this is all just, like, not explicitly saying it, but Cole actually taught Jelly how to play the game when he was 11 years old. Cole might have been, like... If Cole is my age, Cole would have been, like, 16. He probably would have been, like, 16, maybe 17 when he taught Jelly how to play. But yeah, the whole Batman and Robin gag, we used to make fun of him for being, a child because, like, Cole was, like, the old man who taught him how to play the game. We always goofed on him for being the youngest out of all of us, but he wasn't even that much younger than Jared. Like, he was 14, Jared was 14, I think Ringo was 17, I was 19, and Red Moss was 18. But we were all teenagers. All of us were teenagers. Yeah, Cole taught him how to play the game. We made fun of him for that. I don't know. It was just funny. Being a bunch of shitters. This, I really wish we had the fucking video for this, man. The VOD of this. I remember it like it was yesterday. Playing Minecraft on my laptop while streaming at the same time. That's why the frame rate's so fucking bad. Look at how bad this is, like when the particle effects come on, you just like 2 FPS. What a classic, like, fucking do you guys remember The Grapist? The skit on YouTube from like 15 years ago, The Grapist? That was Fuff's name on Minecraft. It was like The Grapist with a bunch of numbers after it. But we put the Fuff thing over it. Yeah, I think so. I don't remember who made it. But yeah, the FPS drop is like... Yeah, we did this for clarity. Nick also did this for me as well. He put the Jelly Swagger and the Fuff 118 over that. God, this is so class. I really wish we had the full VOD for this, man.
And Fuff, the 118th, makes...
It makes it so much easier to follow the story when the SpongeBob characters are all just tied to individual people. We were so passionate about it, man. We all had our SpongeBob personas running the SpongeBob game. It was so cool.
Sponge runs smooth like maple syrup, or some other Canadian thing.
He did
Here
such a
one
good
day,
job.
gone.
That sound effect was so hard to find. Jared was the one who found it at the end of the day. Jared did a lot of little small things to help this video, man. I think I gave him a special thanks, right? Pretty sure I did.
The next, the international
Yeah, but he found that in
circle
high
jerk of
quality.
super acquaintance.
We tried getting it from the episode, but like, I think that the narrator was talking over it. I don't remember what he did, but I have the file. This is just fucking hilarious. Just
Gods.
Just like, yeah. And also just like having Potty like dangle back and forth. That's literally just like the actual episode. He doesn't hang this long. He kind of just starts talking immediately. He's like, that's it. But I had to like cut this and like flip it around and play it in reverse and then play it in reverse again. Yo, Dirk, what's up? It just goes back and forth. He's kind of just dangling there.
And although Cole lurked in the shadows, he'd eventually debuted
What a
in the
classic.
Big
And
Man
then,
profile
yep.
picture to match the
Cole
other
was such a good sport. Like at this point, this guy had almost moved on from speedrunning. He was still paying attention because like it was his dream to have the game into GDQ, and I think that he could tell there was something special going on here. Like it was gonna get in, and the game was gonna blow up. So he was still keeping an eye on it. But he was a good sport, man. We didn't even ask him to. He just saw that we were all doing this with the profile pictures, and he changed his to Mermaid
He'd
Man.
always been there, just watching.
He was so base. And also, like, he was kind of just, like, hanging out in some calls with us at some points. We were talking about the game and streaming, and he was very quiet. And we were all being a bunch of fucking shitters. He was just so quiet, sitting there just, like, observing us being a bunch of shits. And we could tell that he thought it was funny, man. He was sitting there laughing at us, just being a bunch of dorks. But that profile picture that's overlaid in the back is what he used for his Discord profile picture. The fucking high mermaid man. He used that in the back of his... He used that for his Discord profile picture. And the cold, classic profile picture of him just standing there. Like, this was his Twitch profile picture.
He'd always been there, just watching silently.
Yeah, he still speedruns. He got back into it at one point.
The super acquaintances...
He reached out to me last year when the whole gamer gunk shit went down, and asked how to soft mod his Xbox.
Konasumi and some of the other runners that were
Ringo
soon to
Tongo
enter
and
the
Red
ring
Moss
would become a
101.
group that revived Battle for Bikini Bottom.
This is a period image. This is a meme that somebody made like around this time. And bottom right corner, the classic Kona profile picture. We had the SLD. That was Cole's profile picture before the Mermaid Man switched the Cole thing.
Second time.
Classic,
Dedicating himself to the
dude.
grind, Shift needed to address an ongoing issue with his
Classic.
Xbox 360 to further optimize the 80% world record. Up until this point, Shift's
Dude,
Xbox
that
360 had
that
some emulation
super
bugs,
acquaintances
forcing him
bit
to
was
do
in the
workarounds
bomb
for some of the
shelter.
strategies Cole and Fuff
I didn't
had
let
used
anybody
while
see
grinding
that except for I think like
Unable
Music
to find
Man,
another
and I
Xbox
think Jared
360
saw
for
it.
sale locally. He ended up buying an original Xbox from a friend in his town just to give
Yep,
it a
because the
try.
Xbox 360 had the problem. I think that we actually solved this. Like the not being able to bash to get the spatula and the chum bucket and the other stuff, like not being able to get the tikis. I think that Skywise figured out that it has to do with your resolution. Like if the game's at upscaled to 1080p versus 720, it behaves differently on Xbox 360. It's so fucking
Right, that
weird.
The original Xbox was slower than the 360 since the only completed run with it.
But
on the
either
older
way,
games
like the
appeared to have
360
slow
was
loads
slower,
with
and we just didn't
shows.
know.
Little did they
The person
know,
who
with a more
ran the
updated model,
game
such as the one that Shift
with
had
the
just
Xbox, the
downloaded
only person on the
earlier, a
leaderboards who
small
did
bit
it
of
had a
time could be
Thompson
saved
drive.
from
Just shitty
exploiting
luck.
something in BFBB. It was later realized that the switch to OG Xbox saves nearly 1 minute.
But yeah, it
throughout
saved
the
a lot of
80%
time.
Speedrun. And with an Xbox in good health, these fast loads were also 100% consistent.
We had, and again, this video predates the gamer gunk. We didn't know that the disc quality affected stuff as well.
Shift began using the original Xbox.
Didn't really affect the loads, but I think that the scratches could have affected like the stuttering on like certain cutscenes and stuff.
On July 10th and quickly got a run that finished in 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 28 seconds.
No, I think that this was the first game that he ran. I think that at least the first SpongeBob game.
As of this world record, real-time runs had finally eclipsed their tool-assisted counterparts. Shift's 104 cut Hazel's
Yeah,
stats
104
from
was like
2014 by
it happened
9
so
seconds.
quickly. 103 was really the first like legit like that was the first time people said like oh the game is dead when that happened.
So I'd say it isn't even comparable.
Yeah, shut
And
the
of course
fuck up.
like
He was
you know
pretty
I
happy
didn't
with his
believe that
performance,
shit.
despite
It was
not
fun to
knowing that his
celebrate
level
it,
of
but like
optimization was
I
likely
tended
about
not to
the
dwell
same
on the
as his
successes
104
back then. I
team,
really
but
tried
the
not
faster
to.
load times
There it is
was
again with
the
the
Xbox
gameplay
switch.
overlaying and
So
flying across the
suddenly, out
gameplay.
of
So
nowhere,
distracting.
103
I
was
really
such a
tried not to
prospect,
dwell on stuff and
many
just
believed
focus on
it
doing
would
the
be
next
final
thing.
minute achieved in Battle for Bikini Bottom any percent. For over a week, Shift would get runs on paces barely capable of 103, but they always seemed to crumble deep in the run. At this point, Battle for Bikini Bottom was a lot more optimized.
Yeah, I
than
tried
it
to
was back in
really
the old era. Now,
keep the Twitch
20-second time
the
losses
Twitch
were
chat was
enough to
schmoovin' at
lose.
that point
Many
because of the
runs tied
CAC
to the
W.
infamous
I really
Texas
tried to throw in
sponge
stuff like that.
glide, found during the sudden boom of strategies.
That was Loader's idea, by the way, the
discovery of
Alaskan
cruise boosting
bullworm
many years
parody.
ago. Shift eventually got a run.
Alaskan bullworm, it's big, pink, and hairy.
Yet the exact date is unknown, and the VOD no longer exists.
One of the things I tried to really do here as well throughout the video is include Squidward's dream multiple times from different eras of the summer and, you know, the fall and whatnot. Because, like, back then, an era in this game was like a week or 2 week period. That's how quickly the game was moving. Yeah, it actually is on my channel. It was an oversight. It was just called something else. I think it was like under a different name. But yeah, I tried to include Squidward's dream as many times as possible in this video to really show the movement progression. You can just see that, like, I'm getting better at the game as time goes on.
But when Shift finally got another run past,
Funny thing is, too, in the first video, there was, I think it was a 126 that Cole got, and we said that the VOD was lost to time, but it actually wasn't. Cole reached out to me after I uploaded that video and said I really enjoyed it, but I also have this for you. I found this this highlight of this run, so he sent me that, and yeah, we have it now.
let glide.
The
He'd be
lost
sure
Cole
to
record.
preserve that one.
And I watched all of Cole's records to make the first one too. Like, I had to, like, make sure that nothing was left out, like all the cool strats that were used at the beginning.
Oh!
Yeah, that's what it was the whole stream.
Shit! Holy fucking shit!
There was so much cool stuff like this. Like, people were so passionate about this game. They had the fan art. More than one occasion there was fan art from this era.
It's over, boys. It's finally over. Holy shit.
Yeah, we were all like, the game's dead.
105,
No one's
104
ever gonna
left.
beat this.
103 was now here.
20 minutes
The
faster.
community paraded about how the game had finally reached its limits.
That's right, yep.
Deep down,
Nathan
they knew there
Juicebox.
was still a lot more work to be done out there. 2 days later, Shift broke the 80% world record.
Yeah,
again
literally
with
2 days later,
136,
just beat that shit.
This time using the
That's a big
forbidden
trend in
skip to
2016.
save
Like,
9
the game's
seconds.
dead, and then one day later, it's like,
It
yeah.
was forbidden because its perceived inconsistency forbade runners
The name
from
Forbidden
using
Skip
it
is
if
so
not to
funny. Like, we
recover
were just
runs
so,
that
like...
went bad.
Also,
But
shout out
as
to
runners
Gibby
started
Skip.
using it more
Classic
often,
Fuff
it
meme.
seemed to get a bit better.
Holy shit, I did it.
This trick saved 9 more seconds off the run by landing a precise
9
goal off
seconds,
the
not
spiked
bad.
block to launch toward the bouncing ball.
9
spatula.
seconds is so
Despite
much
its
time,
learning
dude.
curve,
Even back
Shift
then,
was
it
willing
was
to
so much
shoehorn it
fucking
into the
time.
run just to have those extra 9 seconds. It seemed at this point, time saves that seemed previously pretty small were starting to look kind of thick.
The original edit for that was so over the top with
It's clear that the
the
game wasn't getting
song
fully
playing.
optimized anytime soon.
Jared's gonna fucking global himself again.
But Shift was running out of time save again.
Yeah, that's not true,
He
Chunk.
rushed through the archives once more.
That is
Searching
a
for
stretch,
potentially useful strategies that were once
to say the
phased out,
least. Yeah, here it is
just
again with the
never
overlay, but this is fine
but
because it's just
nothing
like
stood out as
extra
useful.
information.
Something entirely new was needed, and perhaps the key wasn't as far into the past as he initially thought. When approached by Shift for his routing endeavors, Fuff recalled that while running on the GameCube version, he used to collect the Save the Children spatula during his any percent runs. This spatula is awarded to SpongeBob after popping the 5 sets of balloons floating around the beach, which the children are clinging to for their dear lives. Mrs. Puff awards you a spatula for saving all of them.
This is too funny.
Well, most of them. But Fuff had
We used to always joke about that kid just dying.
And opted for Cole's spatula selection
Just like,
instead.
because nobody,
The reason for this
they
strategy
did
often
something
switched
different in
to Xbox,
Rehydrated
opted
where they
for
made
Cole's
them like
spatula
fly up
selection
and then they
instead.
appear by
The
Mrs.
reason
Puff,
why
but
was
like
due
in
to
the
the
original
recycle
game they
being
just like fall into the
impossible to
goo
meet
and
on
it's
the
like, oh
Xbox
shit.
But to truly understand why, we'll first have to talk about parallel universes. I mean,
It was kind of
version
sad. Like, if you
differences.
look at the chat, not
That
even
for
back in
Bikini Bottom's
2020, a
Xbox
lot of
release
people
made
did
some
not get that
notable
reference.
alterations and improvements compared to the GameCube version. Its aspect ratio was slightly wider, and the audio is not compressed.
Maybe some people actually did get it.
Its aspect ratio was slightly wider, and the audio is
Yeah.
not compressed. Or
But at least when Moist Critical was
absurdly
watching it
loud
on his
in
stream,
some
a lot of
areas.
people, like, that joke went
And
way
yes,
over their
on the
heads.
Xbox version of Kelp Forest, due to improved lighting effects, you can actually see what you're doing.
It's still pretty
The
dark, though.
textures are also full-sized, unlike on the GameCube version.
Isn't it crazy
They're
how much better the
downscaled to
Xbox
half
version is,
of the
though? Like,
original
damn.
size. And of course, the loading times are faster. But you already knew that. The difference we're focused on for collecting the Save the Children spatula, however, is the increased draw distance on the Xbox version. With this increased range for NPCs and other assets to spawn in when nearing them, the balloon kids would
Yeah, the
render
Kelp
and begin
waterfall on
floating their
GameCube
set
is
paths
insufferable.
much earlier than they would on the GameCube version. Due to the shorter draw distance on GameCube,
Yeah, I'm so
Buck could
glad
pop
this
all
game
the
had an
balloons
Xbox
reliably, so he could
port,
get
man.
much closer to them before they
And
would
it was
spawn.
actually a well
On the
done port. Like,
Xbox
they didn't
version,
just kind of,
taking
like,
the same
shovel it
path
on
would leave
there.
The balloons scrambled and in terrible locations due to them starting to float around far earlier. But if a cycle that accommodated the Xbox draw distance could be solved, this could be a lightning-fast spatula. And a potential replacement for the extremely slow...
Yup, Ballroom was still in the run at this
casual
point.
puzzle. So the next day
So the
after
idea was just
10336, Shift
getting rid of the
scanned
ballroom spatula,
Day
putting
at the
kids in,
to figure out
and at
where
this
to
point
start, Shift had to
we
first
were actually
acknowledge that
still
starting by Larry's
doing
lifeguard tower
the chum
was
bucket
not
spatula.
working. This was the start
Well, we're doing
thought
it
that used
now,
on
but it's
GameCube,
different.
as
But like
mentioned
we were
before,
doing the
kids
chum
end up
bucket
in
spatula
awful locations with the
before the
Xbox's
final
draw
fight at
distance
the end of the
movement
game.
cycles. And
Weren't
because
we?
we're
Yeah.
being pushed by a cruise boost, and some pillars sink when you stand on them anyway.
I think we
waiting
did.
around
Yeah,
for
we
the
were.
cycle is not an
Yes, we
option.
put that back
So
in the beginning of the
instead,
game.
Shift tried starting from a different area, the sandcastle. It made sense to start here because it is also the respawn point after drowning.
This
from
is just
collecting
interesting in
people
and of
with
itself, like all the
spatula.
different starting
Upon
points we had for
respawn,
kids
balloon
over the
cycles
years.
are reset, and the nearby box provides the perfect surface to cruise boost off of. And as it turns out, the kid closest to the sandcastle island ends up. in a
Yeah, no,
favorable
Xbox is
position
crazy,
even
dude.
with the
It's cool to see
Xbox's
them making
increased
progress with
distance.
XMU.
Shift would therefore make this one the first in the new sequence. However, after
I really thought that I had the routing process for this highlighted, but I apparently only had just the attempts after I did the routing. There was a clip that I really wanted to find. I was routing this, and I was getting so fucking pissed. And I know that Average Trey was there for it, because he brought it up when I met him in person at GDQ when we first became friends. He was like, I came in your chat and you were yelling at somebody about how you'd be mad too if you were getting fucked by kids. And he's like, I already love this guy after hearing that shit. So I remember him saying that to me when we first met, and I'm like, I have to find this clip and I have to get it in, but I couldn't find it.
From here seemed to work out as well. Finally, returning to
See,
save
that's
kid
the
we
reason
skipped
why I
earlier,
save everything
which is
now,
also
man.
conveniently floating
I have
right
all
on
my
the spot,
VODs saved
allows
from
us to
late
complete the
2017
sequence
all
of
the way
5
until now.
and
Every single
immediately
stream I've
collect
ever
the
done.
spatula. This seamless sequence
We've got
also
it all.
allowed collecting the sock on top of the muscle bar.
So if you got a crazy memory and you remember some whack, stupid shit that I
It
said,
had been the most satisfying segment that Shift had pulled off up until that point, especially with the
yeah,
added
that route,
difficulty
I don't think the
of
video includes the
initiating.
majority of the routing though. I think it's
So, the
mostly
first
just
set of
doing
balloons, as
attempts.
we've mentioned before, requires a first try cruise boost to reach it in time for the cycle. But the added
Yep,
difficulty of
that's
getting
why I'm doing the
cruise bubble
VOD channel.
and bubble on the
Most of
same
that
frame
shit has like
twice
dated
with that
language
kind of
though,
pressure was
or just
the
like dated
surface of
like
the strategy.
attitude.
The movement
You know what I
required to
mean?
nail this trick was far more advanced than any
Low
other cruise
quality.
boost segment up until this
My streams
point,
are really high
especially
quality
with the
now. It's
added
just
trouble
like
of
streaming
hitting
is so
these moving
competitive now in the
targets, many
game.
of which needed to be
It's
bashed
past
while
its
falling
peak
off
at this
the
point,
pillars
but we'll
to even
peak
hit
again
them.
at some
This
point.
led
I
to
believe.
many failures, and worse yet, the first kid had
Dude, the
two
hitboxes on this
different
shit's fucking
cycles
dumb.
it could take, seemingly at random. The kid could either turn sharply into the pillar or continue on in a straight line. Both of these patterns required different timings
If you can
and
find it,
positionings for the cruise boosted
be
bubble
my
bash
guest.
to pop the balloons. So, on top of having to succeed in the single attempt at the cruise boost, Shift also had to react to a 50-50 almost
It's important to
immediately after.
emphasize
And
how
then he
difficult
had to
this was
complete
for the
rest
time
of
that it
the
was being
cycle
done.
with the most advanced cruise boost movement of its time. The rest of the community called him
I think that ever since
insane
2016,
for even
people have
attempting
always
this
looked
in
at this
his
game
runs.
as like one of
But
the harder
after Shift
speed
finished
runs, but now
developing
it's
the
just fucking
strategy and timed
stupid.
it
Like
to
this
save
shit's
half
insane.
a minute over
But back
completing the
then, like
rolling
people
ball
were
room,
still
it
very
was just
impressed by this,
no
and it's
turning
important
back.
to
He'd begin collecting
Be
the
clear
Jump
about
wall
that.
jump spatula at the beginning of the run.
So that way
to make
when
up
we
for
build
weaker
onto it with
fall
more
rate.
stuff,
Then
it's
add
even
the
more
balloon-popping
impressive, you know?
madness after cruise boosting was acquired.
It's really easy to be like, oh yeah, this is just like, you know, hand disabling, whatever. No, that shit's fucking crazy, man. That's really cool that it even works.
Was ironing out cruise boost movement.
Yeah, how many games would crash if you did something like that? Just think about that. Imagine if the game crashed if you disabled the hand. Imagine if the game crashed on SBA. Imagine all this shit that just works. Such a good game.
Real Park had way more to offer than just crossing big gaps and running faster in straight lines. And the fans.
And this is a very important point, because kids was the start. Like that strat was the start of like the cool shit, like the really cool shit. Not just getting a cruise boost and running and jumping across a gap. Like that was like really pushing the game's limits for the time.
And a 103.19. Though he lost nearly half a
Super
minute
cool.
to saving the kids in his 103.24.
Look at
the
that
other two
comeback. Oh my god, look at that. Plus 37 all the way back to minus 4.
Lost nearly half a minute to saving the kids in his 103.24. The other two world records had exemplary displays of this sick.
Yeah, so many runs died to this shit. Now it's like unmissable. Now we're doing this with an LCB now, and it's still like one of the easier parts of the run in my opinion, at least for me.
Beyond simply indulging in nostalgia.
The SpongeBob
The general
CRT.
speedrunning community noticed Schiff's daily attempts to lower the world record throughout the summer of 2016, and he began to build a significant following solely through speedrunning.
Yeah, I started highlighting all the weird shit, and like it was just cool seeing the chat. Look at Killian Beast in 2000. Dudes, look at all these OGs, man. Some of these people have been here for 6 fucking years. Killian was in my chat like yesterday or the day before. People were so passionate about the stream even back then, man. For so many years I couldn't see it, how good this community is. People were just like, dude, you gotta highlight that.
BFBB.
People just
Though
love
many of
being
these
here.
New viewers either hadn't grown up with BFBB or were skeptical of how good the game could.
And that's another thing too, man. That's like, this is when people really started to respect the game for being the game, not just like a nostalgia trip.
Possibly be. They'd grow to appreciate the new and exciting techniques constantly being developed. The game was now continually evolving, and an organized effort to optimize what many saw.
Doing a goal. I think that Poisonous Hippo was the one who got the Xbox copy giveaway. The signed copy of the game. I remember putting that together in my college dorm, autographing it and everything.
As a random cartoon game drew a lot of attention. It seemed the amount of effort going into this speedrun was something that anyone could come to appreciate. Later that
Facts,
same
facts,
month, both
facts,
Jared
facts.
and Shift started averaging well over 100 viewers streaming.
This 100 viewer average lasted for maybe like, I mean, Jared was always very on and off with streaming. This is like toward the end of the summer now, right? Like this is like late July. Yeah, Jared was doing this for a couple of weeks. A lot of this stuff did not last very long. Like these like little mini eras, like I said, 1 to 2 week periods. But like, yeah, I mean, we were all averaging 100 viewers at the time. And eventually I started averaging like 200. And that's when I started applying for partner. And I was starting to get really nervous that I wasn't going to be able to make it in time with people going back to school and me being focused on school and trying not to lose the stream. Streaming less often for fewer hours, but we clutched it out at the end of the day. Yeah, this is like, this is so nostalgic, man. I was going to go more in depth into the drama, but like I decided not to talk too much about it. I was looking for clips of us shitting on people for like, you know, getting on our case about like, why are you running a SpongeBob game? But I just decided to fuck it. Like, we don't need to immortalize that. I think it's enough to just say that like we started preaching about how good the game is, and people were just a little bit annoyed by that, which is kind of like silly looking back at it because people were just so jealous of how passionate we were. It's like people really just wish they felt that way about their games, so they were just like, they thought it was silly because it was SpongeBob. And maybe it was also a little bit of our like toxic attitude toward some people. I mean, it could have been a mix of all three of those things. But yeah, I know that like Perilous Peanut, his deal was like he missed when the community was more grassroots and humble and quiet. And like we were like very proud people. We were very proud of what we were doing with the game. And it was like a very different attitude than they were used to, with like Cole being very quiet and kind of just doing his thing. Streaming the game here and there. Like we wanted to hit the big time with this shit. We wanted this shit to be big.
Unpleasant as well. especially as he became more vocal.
And yeah, I
in his
sympathize with this
experiments,
attitude of
drawing
like,
some of his
you know,
friends from other
quality over
communities and
quantity now.
governments.
I totally
Though
get
these
it.
tensions started small,
But, you
they
know,
would eventually
if we
evolve
weren't
into a larger problem
if we
our
weren't
community
clout
would
chasing
be
back
forced
then,
to
we
deal
wouldn't
with
be here
far down
now.
the road. But that's why
Yeah,
we're covering this
Peanut's
story
definitely. I
in
mean,
4
we've all
parts.
matured a lot over the years,
Between
you
the
know.
controversy surrounding the player's
Peanut's a
personalities
good guy.
and skepticism of a SpongeBob speedrun, it seemed like most people in the speedrunning community at large had an opinion on the phenomenon. But opinions aside, Battle for Bikini Bottom was
This
made
was
with
handled
grace.
so
The
gracefully. I
community's
can't
leaders
believe that
believed to earn the
my
game the acclaim they felt it deserved,
23-year-old
they'd have to
self
push the
handled
run
this
to
so
its
well.
absolute
Just
limits.
not dwelling on the
They ran
negatives
in
and just
as many
focusing on
exciting
staying
and
neutral.
risky strategies as possible.
Because I've always had a bias to be more negative about myself and my accomplishments and like the community and whatnot. Like I've always thought that things could be better, but I really tried to put that aside and just be neutral with this video, and it really
World record,
shows.
Advanced strategy or competitively driven runner on the leaderboard felt like a solid step in the right direction.
This was such a big thing. We were such cultists. Like we just tried to get as many people to submit runs as possible, but it worked. It got people into the game. Thanks, Moncat, for the 31. I understand that.
They had a
It just
mission to
interrupts you every time you
accomplish,
try to
and the
watch.
grind had only just begun. In July of 2016, Kona had finally tied up his loose ends and finished learning to speedrun BFBB
Kona is the person who inspired me to use a PB cam. Fun fact.
through Shift's tutorial video. He kept the game as one of his side focuses while preparing for his showcase of Ed, Ed and Eddie, the Misadventures.
Yeah, and like while Ed and Eddie is like it's like a cool game for a licensed game, it was never really like, it wasn't like Battle for Bikini Bottom. It wasn't like a crazy ass, fucked up, stupid ass, movement driven fuckfest speed run. Like Kona, always a solid speedrunner, but like he really carried this game, man. Like his personality was so good for making a game like this cool and like speedrunnable in a GDQ. Like I think that GDQ was like even a little bit skeptical of like allowing a licensed game like this into the marathon. Like, this really set the groundwork for like the potential for SpongeBob to get in. I don't think that it's given enough credit for that. And also, like, again, with, like, Kona getting into SpongeBob, like, the game is, like, compared to even most games at the time, was just really fucking difficult. And it was definitely a big step up for him, and it was really cool to see him, like, you know, like, get into it and stick with it, despite it being, like, a little bit more challenging than what he was used to, probably. It was just really nice to see him get into the game and, like, get along with the community and stick with it, even though it was like he admits, like, going back, it was very, very stressful playing that game, and it didn't last for long. Like, he ran the game for a few weeks, but like those few weeks he played were so memorable. He brought a lot to it, man.
Marathon, summer games done quick.
But yeah, this was
During this
important.
showcase, he'd put on
Getting
an
Ed Boys into
outstanding display
GDQ.
for over 100,000
He also knew
viewers to
people
see,
too, which helps
and
as well.
gained quite a
He knew
following
people
from
on
it.
the
After
game
GDQ,
submissions
Kona
team.
decided to make Battle for Bikini Bottom his main
Can't
focus for
understate
a
how
while.
important,
Yeah, man, I want
can't overstate how important Kona was to this community.
Well, until he returns, but still, I want to bop him.
The fucking I laughed
I'll probably
image.
right back.
Kona's streams
God.
of BFBB averaged over 200.
So many little
Then
Easter
we'll
eggs
talk
thrown
about
in
it
here
right
too.
Kona's streams of BFBB.
Just like typical, like Kona
averaged-
just talking, and like of course like the Kona sock. The significance of this sock, when Kona was running the game, he was attempting the one frame sock jump. We don't do that anymore because it's slow now, but there used to be a one frame jump on top of the beach tower at the beginning of Goo Lagoon where you collect the sock before doing the sponge glide, and you know it was considered more of an advanced strat at the time. It saved a few seconds or something like that over the next best option. But what he would do is like he would attempt it by mashing the bash button, which you shouldn't do because mashing for one frame, even if you're frame perfect at mashing, like 30 times per second, which is like humanly impossible, pretty much possible, but like not consistent. Like you're getting it at most 50% of the time. So he would just mash the bash button to get on top of the tower, and if he attempted it like 3 or 4 or 5 times and he didn't get it, he'd say, okay, we'll just get the Patrick's Rock Sock instead, which is like not even the next fastest option, but he just like got it, you know. So we just called it the Kona Sock because nobody would do it in the runs except for him. He just kind of ran the game how he wanted to run it, and it was just funny. The classic webcam drop. Oh man.
Okay, let's go.
This is one of the funniest clips to ever come out of the game.
oh no, dude, I messed up bad.
The success of
Just
Coda's
like,
team
you know
rubbed
what's
off
going
on
through his
Shift's and
head, but he
Jared's
played
as
it so
well, as
cool.
they
It's
both
so
began
good.
averaging 150 to 180 viewers on their daily grinds.
Yeah, we
With three
started to
different
really
options to
start
watch the
start
run,
the
all according to their
we started to pop
preferences,
off,
the FBB
and then
continued to
Kona and
gain
I were
that
like, ooh,
online
time for partner.
traction. Kona and Shift eventually began applying for Twitch
But yeah,
partnerships
unfortunately,
towards the
Kona
end of the
kind of
summer,
burned out of the
for which they
game.
were declined
I
each
think he
time
continued
despite
streaming after that, but
advertising
like
viewers
he
as
definitely was
support.
not averaging the numbers that he was averaging playing
See
SpongeBob.
if I got accepted or declined.
Also, just like getting rejected so many
Yeah, it
times
looks like
weighs
it's
down on a
declined.
person,
At this
man.
time, partnership
You needed
requirements
so
were
much
extremely
persistence to
vague,
get partnered
and it
back
took a lot
then.
of persistence to attract the attention of the
There it
fan
is, the
base. So with
persistence,
such a
and
huge
we
push
also
and
didn't
growth
even
and
know what the
motivation
requirements
behind
were
not going
necessarily, because it
anywhere
said like, oh
anytime
yeah, average
soon,
500
the community
viewers,
knew
have a
it
good
was gonna be a
community,
matter
have
of
an active
time
chat.
before
But like
they
nobody
get
knew
their
what that
very
meant,
own.
and we saw people
Each
getting
partner
partnered with like 200, 300. Like we kind of like we knew
The partnership
that it
program
was
could
possible
help
to do it with
attract
around
even
200
more
viewer
fans
averages.
to rediscover the game forgotten and twice revived. With this conviction, the battle for Bikini Bottom speedrunners
So we're just like,
became
yeah, we can
dead
do it. Fuck
set
it, let's
on
go.
making it happen. Having established himself as the
Yeah, and like
fastest
Kona
PvP
and Jared
speedrunner
both
by
like brought
far,
people from their
Shift
own
knew
like
he'd have to
speedrun
continue
communities
pushing
over to
his
the
own
game, and
limits
they
to
liked
keep
it
the
as
game's
well.
progression interesting.
I did
The
notice some of the people
expectations were now
surrounding
higher
Kona
than
though,
ever
like
before
the people
during
that
this
were,
era of
I think
nonstop
there was like a little bit of drama
Fans
and
piled
fallout
in
with
as
some of
they
this
knew what
stuff.
could happen at
They
any
were like
time.
getting a little
Just
bit
before
jealous
dawn
of the
on July
game. They started
31st,
being
Shift
shitters toward us
achieved
at
the
one
first
point.
102
But the LM boys,
during
Luigi's
this
Mansion
era of
boys, shout out to
nonstop
them. They were always cool.
Fans piled
They
in
were
as
always
knew
all
what
for
could
this
happen
game. Also, this
before during
fucking
this era of
save.
nonstop world
Look at
records.
this shit.
Fans piled in
Look
as
at
they
this fuck. Like
higher
his
than
foot
ever
got caught
before
on the
during
thing, and I
this
still
era of
reacted to
nonstop
it in
world
time to
records.
jump. Like it got caught twice, and I still like, dude, look at how far he falls, and I still get the jump. You can't jump there. This is all coyote frames. This is all fucking coyote frames right here. Look at how far I fucking fell and still managed to get back up here. That's like one of the greatest recoveries of all time. What the fuck even was that?
Only 3 days after his 103.19. With constant world record
Dude, this is like
uploads,
fucking
Shift's YouTube
crown
channel started
chakra
to gain more
activated
traction,
gameplay.
and by association,
Some
the rest of the
insane
BFB
shit, man.
community continued moving further into the limelight. Even the comment section
I could have
started
retired on
becoming
59 and went out
regulars.
the GOAT,
You're insane.
These runs
undisputed.
included gradual optimizations nearly
But imagine
every
how
time.
fucking
Anyone
boring
checking
this
in
game
could
would have
clearly
been
see
if
the
we
work
just stopped there.
invested into these runs by Shift and the rest of the community. But these tiny optimizations were going to become far more important if one.
But yeah, every month was just like
the
another
game's available time saves
big
were far
minute
smaller
break,
at
or
this point
every
due
2
to
weeks was like a
common
big minute break, and
understanding of
every
game
month was like an
mechanics.
era.
Some routing changes
Such a
were only made
fast-paced
to
time.
save menu scrolls. Now, Shift would need to dig
Like,
deep
how could you
to
not be
earn
watching this
further.
shit? This was just the
Disappeared
place
for
to
a few
be.
days and returned
When
with
Moist was
new
watching this
motivation to
video
push
on
the
his stream, he
time
was even
past
saying that
yet
he was
another
watching this
to
back when
make
this was all
pressure.
unfolding. He was
Amidst
watching
the
like
grind
as
for
sub 1
101
was
and the
being
hype
almost
surrounding Battle
achieved.
for Bikini Bottom, August introduced
This is a
several
really
new
nice
grind for
camera
101 and the hype surrounding
cinematic
Battle for
turn.
Bikini Bottom, August
I love this.
introduced several new
I started to get a lot
community
better with my
members. They'd become
choices
friendly with
at this
some of
point in the
original
video.
super acquaintances, and some others who'd been around during the old era rejoined as well. Red Moss, soon to complete
Thoughts
his
and prayers
first
to
run
Chris,
with
by the way.
BFB, and Chris the
He just
Fast,
got into
soon
a
to complete
pretty
his
tragic
second.
car
Both
accident.
re-emerged after having been absent.
He's
for
doing all right
years.
now, but
In due
like
time,
there's probably
Ringo
going to be a
Tongo
pretty
and Red Moss would
long
become better
recovery
friends with
road.
Jared,
So.
Jelly, and Shift. The five would form a larger friend circle
Yeah, man.
based around
I've known
enjoying
that guy
their
for 6
favorite
years now.
pastime. Viewers could tune into any of their streams. And
Yeah,
find the
Moist still
others in the same
follows.
call,
Yep.
grinding away at those
He's an
creatures.
OG. He's been
At
watching
this
since
point,
like
the community
Siglemic.
had become closer
I think
and
it
more
happened back in
intertwined
like
than ever
April or
before.
March.
And with so many streams occurring simultaneously, there was almost
Here's another
always
example of where we
a
had to
place to
blur
watch
out
Battle for
stuff.
Bikini
Bottom left blurred out.
Bottom throughout each day. With
Splits
so many
getting blurred
outlets to
out
watch the game,
to not
prospective
spoil
runners
the story.
continued to gain interest. The group made sure to keep the full any percent tutorial, along with the portal to their friends' streams.
See, and this
readily
is like the sense of community that we had. Everybody's fucking profiles looked like this, with like the other people who play the game. Check them out. Here's the tutorial. Click on it and watch. Like everybody was like promoting the tutorial. Everybody wanted everybody to learn the game. It was so grassroots, man. Like how could you not want to be a part of
available
this?
for anyone tuning in.
Great
It was a tight network
foundations.
dedicated to improving their game while making memories along the way. By now, it was also clear that
Not an
all
ounce of
the top
selfishness
runners
in this
were more than
community.
happy to pick up the Xbox version of BFBB to
Brings a
further
tear
their
to my
career.
eye. Look at that fucking leaderboard though. Look at the top of that leaderboard. That's elite, dude. dude. Come on. Come on, man. That's just classic. Look at that lineup. Would you not want to play the game? You go to the leaderboards, the first like fucking 7 or 8 people you see, like, come on, dude. That is a lineup. Look at that fucking group.
And new runners felt encouraged to try the game with whichever version they already owned. After all, they could just upgrade to Xbox later in pursuit.
We didn't know how good we had it, man.
This culture was forwarded to prospective
Things are still
runners
good,
by
but
5
man,
friends,
I would have
and the
enjoyed my
tutorial series
time
they'd use to rebuild their
more
base
if I'd
players.
realized how legendary all this
Unmotivated
was.
And off the radar.
Yo,
were
thanks.
No longer terms that could be used to describe
So
the
cool.
battlefield.
Looking back at this as like a historic thing. The video on history being historic. Did Ringo have a Samsung B? Ringo had a Philips drive.
And
Nobody had Samsung B. We were all like Red Moss and I were on Samsung A. Jelly was on Philips, I think, or maybe he was actually on Samsung A. I think the one that I sold him might have been on Samsung A. I don't remember. But there was a lot of conspiracy and theory on like what Xbox. That wasn't even talked about that in this video. How many Xboxes I bought, all different colors and limited editions to see if they were fast or not. There was actually a point when I switched to a slower Xbox and then switched back to a faster one. Like the later like 1 hour-ish times were all done on like a Philips drive, I'm pretty sure. Like in like November, October-ish. I switched to a slower one and I switched to a faster one after that, like experimenting with shit. We were so clueless. We had to figure all this stuff out, man. I spent so much money researching stuff. I didn't have money to spend. I was just fucking in college with no job.
radar.
But I wanted this to be big. I wanted us to know how to beat the game as quickly as
As
possible.
summer faded,
But yeah, this whole thing about like this and this is no longer a term that could be used to describe the community. This is again just like essay writing 101. Like I wrote this like an essay and it was much more structured, unlike the first one, which is still good, but you know, the structure kind of came toward the end. I kind of like realized toward the end of the first one like what direction I wanted to go with the series. And then this one was kind of where it all came together and I figured out what I wanted to do.
out, Battle for Bikini Bottom's presence continued spreading further. Even some bigger names on Twitch would...
Funny story about this, I think that the day of or the day after this video released, excuse me, I need water. The day of or the day after this video release, Ray changed his name on Twitch from Brown Man to just Ray Navarez Jr. And now he's just Ray. Like he's changed his name 2 times in the past 2 years. So I was like, oh fuck. Because I spent so much time perfecting this video, making sure every little detail was like flawless. And then like he changed his name the day that I released it and I'm like, fuck. It's like the one thing.
take interest in Battle
But he loved this game. He played through it. He gave it a very fair shot. Unlike the Game Grumps. But yeah, you know. That stuff happens. Young Fi-Fi! Oh my god! How old is he here? How old is he here? Like, I have to be older than him at this point. Like, I'm 25. How old was he at this point? He had to have been... He looks like he's like 23. Yeah. He kind of looks like I did, like, in 2017. A little bit older. Yo, Baba, thanks for the 6 months, man. This shit's awesome. No problem, dude. No problem. Shortly after college. Yeah, I was gonna guess, like, he kind of looks like as old as I was, like, maybe, like, around the SBA diaper era. Like, the GDQ situation and whatnot. Fire Dragon. Yep. Young Fi-Fi playing Battle for Bikini Bottom. Again, with the Luigi's Mansion community having our backs from the very beginning. He liked this game, dude. He thought it was funny. And he enjoyed playing it. Always been a supporter. Fi-Fi was the guy, because back then, applying for partner was way different back then. You had to submit a form, and on the form you had to have like a recommendation. Like, it was truly an elite club. Like, to get partnered on Twitch, you really needed to have, like, beyond the credentials of just, like, the stream numbers. You had to have somebody recommend you to. And Fi-Fi said that he'd be I think, I don't remember the exact name of it. It's like a sponsor person. Somebody that recommends you, like, this guy is suitable for the partner program. But he was my guy. He let me put his name on that list on my on the form when I applied for partner. Every time that I applied for partner as well.
Speedrunning and Battle for Bikini Bottom had become inseparable. And with so many new faces rallying behind the community,
What an
Bikini
image.
Bottom had become
Great image.
inseparable. And with so
They
many
truly
new
are
faces
inseparable. At this
rallying behind
point,
the
it was
community,
undeniable.
they
Like,
needed
this is
one
a
main
speed run
event to
game.
tie together the happenings
This is
of
a
that
speed
fateful
running game,
summer.
man.
On August 11th, 2016,
Purple
Shift
Lamp knew it
improved
too.
the 8% world
The
record
CEO
again,
and co-founder
this
of Purple
time by
Lamp
2
Studios
seconds. A 6-second
said himself that he
improvement
rediscovered the
happened
game through the
the
GDQ
next
run that
day.
happened as a result
2
of all
days
this.
later, he pulled
In
off
case
a
you didn't
huge
realize how
world
important all
record,
this shit
shaving
is, like,
off
it's
nearly
fucking,
half a minute.
it's crazy. And look at how much I've
That's
improved in
good.
this game even after all that, man. I was nuts back then.
This run still had
Also, Loader really wanted to do his Ratchet and Clank
that just seemed to come
voiceover
out,
here.
well,
Slim Cognito.
conspicuous.
I never played those games, but I gotta
Without
play them
any
at some
major
point.
and with very few minor changes.
I slipped in so many cool things here this
Without any
video.
major,
That's a 1-frame jump. I touched the ground there. See that? You have to jump on 1 frame, otherwise you die there.
and
What a
with very few
recovery.
Minor changes to the strategy set.
And I
Shift
still
is saving
PB'd.
huge chunks of time just
I
from
still
optimizing
PB'd.
his own movement and adding more cruise boosts to the run. In the past, cruise boosting was only used sparingly in areas where the speed boost was needed to make spatulas viable for the run. But now,
Yeah,
seeing
man.
as Battle for Bikini
Yeah.
Bottom's
Dude, I've been
route was
talking
far
so
more
much, my voice is
optimized,
getting
saving
out of
a
whack.
couple of seconds per cruise boost was actually significant. If the
God,
player
all
could
this
hit
looks
them
so
on the
old,
first
but it
attempt
doesn't look old to
consistently.
me.
Around this
This
time,
feels like
Fuff also
yesterday.
discovered that
It was
Layer's
6
collision
years
box
ago.
is actually a huge rectangular prism. Though invisible, it was the perfect surface.
Yeah,
for
Fuff's
cruise
100%
boosting
speed
and
runs.
marked with-
Fuff was the founder of 100%. Like, Cole had done like a run of it, but he kind of did it as a meme. But Fuff was the first person who took it seriously, and he put the game under 2 hours for 100%. So
start of runners
it's
cruise
super
boosting
cool.
off of certain
It's my favorite
flat
category now, I'd say.
NPCs to avoid walking to the nearest wall. Shift began referencing Hazel's
Yeah, just
2014
optimizing cruise
tab
boost
in
spots,
hopes of
optimizing
implementing some of the
movement.
more difficult and obscure movement strategies into his runs, and began skipping
Yeah,
the rotating shipwreck wall
we're
jumps
adding the
for
task
cruise
strats,
boosting.
baby.
Fuff's 100% endeavors also
go.
led to more strat discoveries in the any
That's when I started to get
such as
really
the
good.
new
I'm like,
route
I
for
can do
Squidward's
so much with
Dream
this
that avoids
game.
a sock for
Let's
the
do
low,
it.
low price of 0
But this wasn't
seconds.
Route Z yet. Route Z was
These creative
dude, that
uses
guy's
of cruise
face.
boosting marked an era when Battle for Bikini Bottom became a far more movement-centric speedrun versus just simply nailing setups for
yeah, as if it wasn't
tricks.
already with the
This
kids
particular
shit.
run was looking like a lost cause, but Shift ended up finishing with a time of 1:02.18 after coming back from a 24-second deficit, closing out a new world
Oh my
record
god,
by
dude,
3
that was
seconds.
nasty. Look at
With
that.
big comeback
Fucking
runs
gold,
and a
come
nearing
on.
of 101, the summer
Come
of
on.
2016 was destined to go out with a
Also, we
bang.
didn't have a lot of
Run's
splits
pace
back
for
then.
101 would nearly
So you could play
reach
pretty close to some of
200
best. Not only
live
that, the
viewers,
game
as
wasn't
they
nearly
knew
as hard as
something
this. Oh
big
my
for
god,
101
look at
would nearly
that.
reach 200
This was
live
highlighted.
viewers, as they knew something
I found this
big
highlight
would
deep in my
happen
Twitch
soon.
archives.
Nearly a week later, on August 25th, 2016, Shift was on
Yeah, vouch,
his
reference,
best
sponsor,
pace
whatever.
ever. Half a minute ahead of the 1:02.18 out of Jellyfish 2, and still within a minute.
Be
of
getting some
of the
cracked
best
runs,
in the
man.
graveyard. At this point, the fans were on the edges.
I thought it was
of
so
their
cool that
seats.
Fi-Fi agreed to do
Shift
this.
entered Sandy's dream to perform
Because he
the
was a big
Texas
supporter of the
Sponge
game,
Ride.
man.
Nearly an hour into the run, only
More
this
specifically in my
Robo
stream, but
Sponge
like,
stood between him
he still liked the
and
game quite a
coveted
bit.
101.
Had to get him in on it. I fucking hated this shit, man. The collision on that wheel is so bullshit. Also, shoutouts to having 2 people in this video swear who don't swear on their streams. God, what an instant classic. I love this video.
His reaction to such a
Yeah, I was like
heartbreaking
starting to
loss
really
was in
figure out how to
stark
do these
contrast
edits
to
on my
those
own
of
at this point.
Similar misfortunes at the start of the summer, and he was even able to keep his head.
Yeah, we got the
straight enough to
character
close out a
development,
new
even
world
though I was
record
still
with
getting
that
mad.
same run.
It's all for the narrative, though.
It was clear by now
The
Shift was
narrative
improving at
makes
managing
things
stress in
cooler
front
to
of live
watch.
audiences, and with that, his attempts became.
But what was
absolutely
going through my mind
non-existent.
here is that, like,
Live
I still
audiences
PB'd, and people can clearly see, like, it's going to get uploaded to YouTube. People can still clearly see the potential here. This is before the VOD channel, by the way. Subscribe to my VOD channel on YouTube if you haven't already. You can just get all the runs and stuff and all the playthroughs. But I was just like, you know, I missed the sponge glide. It was kind of bullshit how it happened. It doesn't really detract from my skill in the game. It's just this shit. Like, am I really going to, like, judge my entire skill off of this. Like, no, that trick was bullshit back then. We didn't know how it worked at all.
Run.
So yeah, it's like, oh yeah, it would have been a
It was
101.
clear by now that Shift was improving at managing
Yeah, the wheel
stress in
just
front of
sucked,
live
dude.
audiences, and
I think
with
I
that,
counted
his
10 runs that I
attempts became
lost from
faster
like
than
the
none.
fall all the way to the
Later
first
that same
59.
day, Shift
10
tied the
runs to
summer's
that shit
resurgence
right
of
at the
Battle for
end.
Bikini Bottom, the resilience of the community, and his own self-growth into one.
Yeah, we got like our own little mini arc. This is before I watched anime, by the way. I was just good at telling stories, man. Also, I like this montage. I don't want to do too many montages in the next one, but I want to also just mix in narrative with the montaging if I do want to do it, because I don't want to, like, you know, we've already peaked. We don't need to do this again. At this point, if we're doing more of this shit, like, it's going to be kind of hard to do it better without going way over the top. But this little bit, I took some criticism from the first video that the montages were too long, which I think is fine because we need to show more of the run to show people what the run is like. But at this point, you've seen so many of these segments already. I only wanted to show all the stuff that wasn't redundant, and then show off the special effects and the transitions and stuff. But yeah, making this crusty ass 720p 30 FPS frame drop gameplay look good. It was tough,
Shift's most iconic runs,
but it was fun.
gaining significant traction on YouTube and causing him to reach the 1,000
I've watched mostly the
subscriber mark on
classics.
the
I don't really
platform. And over
watch
on
too much of
Twitch,
it,
the
but
movement was growing stronger than
you
ever.
know.
With the game's popularity,
Look at
over
this.
on
Look at that
Twitch, the
growth.
movement was growing strong.
And they said that SpongeBob and speedrunning didn't have any crossover, or just couldn't have potential.
Stronger than ever.
They were
With the game's
fucking
popularity
crazy.
skyrocketing, the
We haven't even gotten to that
2016
yet. Also,
community
just showing
believed
the
they had what it
rocket,
took
just
to
shoving that in
avenge Cole and
everywhere.
the other retired runners from the previous era. They began discussing the possibility of Battle for Bikini Bottom being accepted.
A year into my streaming career, I was at 40,000 followers, and this is back when Twitch was way smaller too. I was on good track, but I stuck with the game. I never sold out.
Back to 2013.
Never sold out.
Hazel even went as far
And then
as
we got a
plan out her
remake.
talking points for commentary had the game actually been accepted, staying hopeful
It was worth it.
each and every time. It was something that meant the world to me.
Yo, Slam,
The
what's
chance
up?
to display their years of ingenuity on
Yeah, that's all
stage,
Cole ever wanted, was
thousands
to get the
of
game
viewers.
into the
And now, the
GQ.
next generation of runners
Regardless of
believe
whether
that
he
they
played it or
made
not.
that dream
What a humble
reality.
man.
Shift submitted Battle for Bikini
Had to have
Bottom
him.
100% to Awesome Games Done Quick 2017. The Winter Marathon was poised
Oh, this
to
is
be
so
the largest
cool.
ever, and BFBB had its best shot at finally.
Yeah, the 101 was like a
Before the
crazy
summer
run.
survival of Battle for Bikini
I was
Bottom,
so hyped.
Jonah consulted GDQ
So many
community
people from other
member Ulrich
communities watched
regarding the
that.
possibility of BFBB's
That was back when the
return.
game was starting to
He
really...
claimed there just wasn't enough evidence.
People
that
weren't
Spain-
very... Let's just pause on this, by the way. Just, you know. People weren't very verbal about it, but they respected the game back then. It wasn't cool to like it back then, but people still liked it. I'm just going to leave this pause and get some food quickly right here. Just, you know. Getting a little bit hungry. Been talking a lot. You guys ever have seed butter? Well, this has got 5 different types of seeds in it. We got the hemp, the chia, the sunflower, the pumpkin. You know, we got it all. Delicious. Maybe pour a little glass of water while we're at it, you know what I'm saying? Take a nice big sip. No, I got plastic spoons and I just dispose of them when I'm done with each individual. Hit up the vitamins, got the zinc, got the fat soluble B1, a classic. Got the vitamin D and the K2, classic. Got the curcumin, classic. Health is wealth. Yeah, so this is just the worst take of all time. But he was one of the guys who advocated getting the game into the marathon, so you gotta give him credit to that. But like, you know, just, you know, one of the worst takes ever made in the history of gaming.
SpongeBob and speedrunning had enough crossover audience to make it work. Well,
It's just
4 months
complicated,
later,
man. I don't know.
Battle for Bikini Bottom had taken this.
That's true, though. SpongeBob is complicated. It really is.
Well, just 4
This is
months
a very
later,
complicated
Battle for
game.
Bikini Bottom had taken the speedrunning community by storm. The evidence was laid out for everyone to see, and Shift just had to write a pitch to convince the committee to finally lay
Yeah.
the 6-time rejection curse to rest. And
The game just got rejected over and over and over again. They submitted it twice a year for like 3 straight years, and they never took it.
needless to say,
And this is like when speedrunning was also like kind of smaller too. Like GDQ hadn't like fully peaked yet, I don't think, during these times when they were submitting, and it still wasn't getting in.
Cole was watching silently from the shadows. Shift published his AGDQ 2017
They just didn't like SpongeBob, man.
20% on September 3rd, 2016. You may have already guessed by the splits, but just 4 days earlier, Shift broke the world record again with a 101.38.
The kid is
He
nasty.
just could not stop.
The
Between
kid
the
is
first
nasty.
and the second 101, Shift found a 5-second time save for collecting the spelunking spatula in Jellyfish Caves, naming it Rock Skip because you jump on the rocks to get
This is a backup now.
the spatula.
If you die in JF2,
Now, the new risky
For 100%
maneuver and
speedruns.
potential run ruiner.
we don't even go back to
Showcased in
jellyfish
the
in 80% anymore.
101.38 and again in the 101.14 achieved on September 9th, 2016. Then, on the attempt immediately following the 101.14, Shift finished with a time of 101.04.
True
Small
back-to-back.
improvements and increased hours of grinding
Classic.
had pushed the current route further than anyone believed possible, with very few major changes allowing the next.
But this
minute
wasn't
to
the
move
mother
on.
run. This is...
Following this PB, however, Shift
You ever
finally
have a
hit
run
the
so
tipping
scary,
point.
like
But
so
exactly
scary
2
good,
weeks later, Shift
that
would
people
complete a
aren't
run
popping
that
off for it?
shocked
They're just sad because they think the game is dead. Well, this is that run, because this run was fucking scary.
1 flat 32. In the aftermath of this run, eyewitness accounts state that Shift uttered something that few could comprehend.
This is the run that people
It
were
sounded
like,
something
wow,
like this.
this might be it.
To this
But it
day,
wasn't a
this is
59.
regarded as one of the most
If it had been like a
optimized world
101 or a
records in the
102,
game's history,
you
and
know,
it marked
maybe.
the end of an era
Maybe we would
in
have
any
thought
precise
about
world record
stopping.
progression.
I
Shift
wouldn't
had
have stopped, though.
completed a
I'd
run
never
with
had it
so
in me to
few
stop,
mistakes
but, you
that it would
know.
go on to initiate
Just
the first world
imagining
record drought caused
some
solely
timeline where,
by
like,
optimization
the
of
extra
the run,
motivation of the
as
59
opposed
wasn't
to
there.
hiatuses. Despite grinding for multiple hours each day, this time would stand
It had to happen.
untouched for a while in comparison to the veritable
Link to
grab
YouTube
bag
video,
of some
part 2
records.
command,
Chat and
exclamation part
community
2.
Reactions to this run were in stark contrast to those of the first 101. Ringo cites that there was a level of sadness watching this run finish off, realizing that the game's progression
Yeah,
might
it would have been
actually
weird.
reached a dead end.
It's just so
And
cool that,
things
like,
certainly
when
did
we
start
saw
to
the
slow
potential
down
for
the
it,
next month.
there wasn't even
For their
potential
knowledge at
for
the
it. Like, it
time,
wasn't
the
even
run had been
possible.
shredded down to its core,
And we had to figure out how to
revealing
get it.
everyone believed would be the final, crowning achievement in Battle for Bikini Bottom speedrunning.
And by we, I mean
The
I,
59.
because I had to, you know.
For titles of past, present,
SpongeBob
and
Museum.
future, taking a full digit off the run was viewed as the holy grail for communities
Yeah, I had to keep the Jack and Daxter shout out in here. But Odyssey Sub 1 was so fucking hype, man. That shit was insane. How many people saw that live? And what year was that? Was that 2018? They probably had a couple of thousand viewers watching that. But you know what's more sick than a 59?
optimizing games clocking
Two
in at
59s.
just above the 60-minute mark. And with the world record now wedged right between the hour and the 101
This game is
marks,
so
debate
awesome,
sprang
man.
up
This
over
straight
whether
up
or
has
not
the
it was
best
even
history out of any
possible.
speedrun. I don't
To give you
fucking
some
care.
perspective, Hazel's and Old School's unfinished tool-assisted speedrun from 2015 was only attempting to cut the hour mark. But Shift believed that there was still room to push the game further. He felt an
Yeah, we're just
intense
cramming a bunch of
grind could
dumbass
eventually
shit
make the
in.
Sub-1 dream a reality. He and the rest of the community
And yeah,
acknowledged that
actually,
each
this was
time
around the
Zerg came
time that I
solely
think
from
I switched
better
to
movement
the
would be
slower
extremely
Xbox by
fragile at this
accident. I was
point.
testing
The
it.
game would need new
It was the
strategies
Crystal
added with
Xbox
the
that was
sole
rumored to be
intention of
faster.
barely
but it was
achieving a
slower.
59,
And then when I
thereby
switched
finishing
back
off
to the
progression,
Samsung
Battlefield
A
beat by
unknowingly,
1%. If these wicked
like
strats
that,
happened to work in just
plus,
one run, while everything else was near perfect,
I think I
it
switched
would
back
be
in like
just
December or
enough
something.
for Shift to become the first to beat the game in under 1 hour. And in support of these endeavors, the
I don't really
community
remember
rallied close
the
behind,
exact
with their own
timing, but
resilience having thrust their beloved title into the limelight 13 years after its
I know that at some point, for a very brief period, maybe in like November of 2016, there was a switch for at least a couple of PBs to the slower Xbox. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, 5926, no, 5928, yeah, that's what it was. 26 came later. I can't wait to work on the third parts of the history videos, because like this is like getting into like the classic Shift era where the community was so young and I was starting to use my webcam. We were all starting to like get together and form more of a community surrounding not just like the game, but also just like the people who play it and watch it. People who watch it especially, like the other games we played on stream and stuff.
initial release.
Oh man, 2017 was a fun time. Two chats. The chat on the left is the reaction to this when it first aired, and the chat next to my face is you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, this was really hard to pull off. This is just a screenshot. We were originally going to have the cars moving in the background, but we ran out of time. I was going to get Nick to help us with that. But yeah, the shadow of the legs there, that's actually the shadow of Eminem's legs. Like, straight up, like, erased. Digitally erased from the screenshot. But this was, like, kind of tough to pull off. It didn't look bad for what it is.
Losing runs.
Wait, I never noticed that. Not Afraid, as much as we make a meme of it,
Grind.
the shadow changes from, I don't know if this is intentional, but the shadow changes from like one side of his legs to the other,
Grinding.
implying that Eminem's been standing on the building for a really long time. Interesting. But yeah, the dog pants, the dog pajama pants,
Better ride.
he was just wearing them, and I'm just like, you should just keep that on because it'd be funny.
Losing runs.
So yeah, classic Ringo Tongo rage clip. I think that everybody in this video had a rage clip except for Red Moss because he never used the mic.
Close runs. To get
Yeah,
to
and this is one of the things that we had
That's
Nick
so
help
you.
us key out.
Might still be trying to get that pace.
This was tough. This is again from the Not Afraid music video, just like putting
Trying to get
assets
out.
into the thing and just having him sit in the
Just
corner.
remember, you could be doing this shit.
Dude, Not Afraid is just like
Ships
way
had
too
foreseen
fucking
the hard
serious,
stop for
man.
The game's progress in the 1 hour range.
But this is
and
a
already been
reference
working
to a
on
video
plans
he
for
made
Achievement
called
59.
Route Z. Just like showing all the fuck ups and bullshit resets with Not the Way, Love the Way You Lie, that's what it was, playing in the background. Just like as a meme. It's like, oh my god, my life sucks, I'm doing Route Z.
He referred to it as plan, or route,
Just emphasizing the depression of Shift
Z,
doing the route.
which truly encompassed the meaning of whatever it takes.
Yeah,
for
just
the plan that
adding
was implemented to
strats that were
achieve.
previously considered.
Earlier
I mean,
that
like,
month-
let's be real. The movement in SpongeBob Museum was like beyond what the task was doing in 2014.
Shift had gone digging into
As
Cole's
far as
video
movement
archives
goes,
once
for
again
sure.
in search of more forgotten strategies. He rediscovered the older method for skipping Jellyfish Field Zone 1, which lured a hammer to jump off of and activate the checkpoint at the end of the level rather than using Jellyfish Rock
Yeah,
Skip.
the
This
non-frame
method wouldn't
perfect
save
camera
time
skip.
enough on its own due to the significant time lost from needing a replacement for the sock on Jellyfish Rock. He'd need to make it
Even faster.
on September
I was editing this
17th,
section,
Shift uploaded
like,
a video called Hammer
day
Skip,
of.
which showcased a clean, modernized hammer
I was
AI manipulation where he
fixing
also
things up
jumped off
even,
the
like, the
hammer's
day
head,
of the
but
premiere.
this time set up a damage boost. By inputting a frame-perfect triple jump out of the boost, the cliff could be cleared without waiting for SpongeBob to drown and respawn. As a quick refresher, the window to hit these types of jumps is only open for 1/60th of a second after SpongeBob's damage animation ends. On top of that, there are 5 different animations to react to, each with different visual cues and muscle.
See, we didn't even know that at this time. I was just straight reacting to them. Like, we understood there were different animations, but we didn't know the order of them, or that there were even 5. But I realized this like early 2017. I put it together like, okay, they're all in the same order, and there are only 5 of them. So at that point, we started adding more 1 frames to the run.
Memory. Cole made use of these jumps in a couple spots when he ran the game, but the key difference with hammer skip was the risk factor. Missing the old school fountain
Yeah,
jump
these are a
or the
lot
Goo Lagoon
lower
tower jump
risk.
to the sock
And
landed
this
the
one's
player
slow
on a
now. We don't
safe
even do this
round
one now.
To try again. Each miss only cost a few seconds.
The one that I was
With
talking
hammer
about, the
skip,
one that
however,
Kona would
there was the
attempt and then
added
just give up
potential
on.
of drowning and having
Yeah,
to
the Route
reset
Z
the
video,
whole
classic.
run
These videos are
before
all still on
frame
YouTube
was
if you go
missed.
search for them as well.
There was a checkpoint backup.
Yeah, that's
but
dope.
relying on its
Cruise
saved
boosting's
such
fun, man. That's
minimal
what got me into
time
the
that
game.
In most cases, it
Giving
was
that a
good to
try.
reset anyway. Factoring in the sock reroute, the trick only saved 8 seconds. With the
Yeah,
level of
8
risk
seconds
and
now is
execution
insane, but
required
back then
on
8
top of
seconds
the
for
degree
something
of
like
optimization
that, like a
the game
1
was
frame
already
jump back
reaching,
then,
the addition of this
pretty
strategy
tough.
would make it far more difficult to get runs going. But Shift's
especially with the
next
RNG
implementation would
manipulation.
truly test
Or
its
not the
limits.
not RNG manipulation,
So,
but
if you
AI
recall from part
manipulation
1,
plus
the Rock Bottom
RNG
Museum was
of hammer
re-added
skip.
to the any percent route during the community's grind for sub 120, which was one of the many strategies.
That's a really cool
re-added to
strat, by the way.
improvements. So if you
On the
recall
GameCube version, the lasers instantly kill you, so this is a pretty risky strat. But what Cole
next
does here is he
implementation
talks
would
to
truly test his limits. So if
the Barnacle Boy text to get invincibility frame,
recall
so you
from
can
part
grab the
1,
sock and not
Rock Bottom
die.
Museum was re-added to the any
Really
percent
cool
route.
strat. I'm sure a lot of people didn't even catch that. This is a very difficult, not very difficult, but like it's like risky for the time that he did it, like 2013, right? Yeah, abusing iframes to get that sock. Because on the Xbox version you don't die instantly, but on the GameCube you do.
Swapped in place of others throughout the run. This was due to a new exploit Hazel found during the summer of 2013, which allowed her to pass through the laser walls.
Yeah, this is
without deactivating them.
the
By
original
grabbing the moving
Sandy
tire lamps,
Museum.
she clipped right past the lasers without having to go through the museum's tedious puzzles. And because of Sandy's gliding ability, this character was definitely the one for the
I
job.
love this
But 3
segment
years later,
because it
with
gets
cruise
so many
boosting
reactions
having
out of
been
Twitch
discovered and
chat.
its movement mechanics
Just
being
going
pushed
into
further than ever
super
before,
into
this
detail about
time
this
was for a
complete
different
revolutionary
approach. This
strat
time, Shift
for this
proved
level
it's
that
possible to
completely
save
changes
time
the
clearing
game.
museum
Like really
at
pushes
SpongeBob.
like the limits for what's
On
possible with the
September
movement in the
20th,
game.
2016, Shift
And then
uploaded
it just
a
like,
segment
oh yeah,
and
it saves 5
improvement on it
seconds.
later that same day that showcased the most
Like not even
advanced
as many
cruise
seconds as hammer
movement
skip
of its
saves.
time. By landing a precise bubble bounce on the rotating
This
turret
shit's
nodes,
still, like,
it's possible
hard
to
for
climb
today's
to the level of the
standards,
museum,
at least
jump
for,
a
like,
huge gap,
non-LCB
and grab one of the
movement.
moving tire lamps to clip through the wall. Unlike the Sandy method, which allowed for gliding across the gap at a nearly set altitude,
But yeah,
gravity
it's slow
was in
now.
full effect. To make
Shit
the
was risky
stakes
as hell,
even
though.
higher, any
5
mistake
seconds.
between loading into the level and clipping through the
I was
laser
doing
wall
this shit because I
forced the
wanted
level
to,
reload,
not because I
and
needed
most
it.
of the
Well, at
time,
first it was because I
a run
needed it, but
reset.
like as time
This
went
is
on and
because
I got
missing a
better at the
cruise
game
boost,
and the movement
grabbing a
got
ledge,
better
or even
and the
stepping out
consistency
of
got better, I
place
definitely
cost
didn't
enough
need
time
this to
for
get
SpongeBob
sub
to
1.
miss the tire
But
cycle.
was I gonna be a
Even though
fucking
it was a
pussy
ledge grab,
and cut it
so
out?
as the
No.
ledge get up animation
No, we gotta
automatically
do it.
triggers upon
It
grabbing,
wouldn't have been the
and
same
Sandy's
without
get up
it.
animation
And we
is
gotta do it in
twice as long
GDQ,
as
we gotta nail it in
In
GDQ.
order to
you know.
properly clip through the lasers, you must be in the ledge get up animation when colliding with them. In other words,
This- I
SpongeBob's window
recognize
to
this stuff
correctly
was
grab
important for the
ledge
game,
clipping
man.
Is half the size of Sandy's.
You gotta do the
This,
cool
along
stuff
with the
that is
added
also
difficulty of
fast.
falling onto the moving ledge
You gotta just go
rather
for
than
it.
hovering into it, made this first section of the new museum strategy
It's the history of the
most
game.
fearsome segment.
But look at
in
this
the
shit,
entire
man. That tire
strategy,
grab,
the most fearsome.
it's kind of
segment
crazy
in the
how many different
entire
ways it could have
game
gone wrong.
thus far. It had to be timed perfectly. And after clipping, Shift still had to go through the second part of the gauntlet. Having lost
Yeah, the
his
laser
cruise
stuff
boost and
in
taking laser
100%.
damage, he now had to reach
Right.
the balcony to activate another
Yeah, we
one.
still gotta
By
revisit
spacing a
that.
precise jump across the tires on the other side of the wall, it's possible
Look how
to
tight
skip
this
the
is.
ledge grab by barely skimming the surface of them. This was
So
important
sick.
to execute properly, as grabbing a ledge could cost a
Yeah, you
second
couldn't
and
go
a
too
half,
early or
and
too
outright
late because the
failing
tire
the
swings
checkpoint
back and
shift at
forth.
the bottom
Yeah,
level of the museum,
crazy.
forcing him
You
to
gotta
restart
reload the
level.
entire level when that
After
happens.
making it to the balcony, Shift then had to nail the cruise boost used for making it to the next tire.
This is
which he
before
used to clip
RCBs were
through the
discovered.
second laser wall. This tire was actually the same one used to clear the level as Sandy. But this time, rather than just being able to slowly glide to it, SpongeBob has to remove
Yeah,
the
this is one of
cruise
those
boost,
things that
drop
the
below
critical
tire,
chat
turn
also
180
reacted to
degrees,
pretty
and grab
well
a ledge
as
to
well.
secure
Because
the
like,
clip through the wall. Without a cruise boost active, SpongeBob regains his
You get
standard
so
turn
into the
speed,
description
which
of like
allows him
how
to make that
crazy this
100
shit is,
return to
and then you just get the it
After
saves
doing
5
so,
seconds.
ships
Like
can grab
in
the
level, it
collectibles
doesn't
on the
even
other
save
side of
time.
the
It's just
second
the
base
pre-level,
revolve and finish the
not
cycle.
switching to the bus stop.
Throughout 2016's evolution of cruise boosting segments, this was the crowning jewel. These jumps,
Yeah, the
leaps,
sandy
and
grind,
maneuvers allowed SpongeBob
very
to
early
make the same
100%.
cycle as Sandy, if
Like
done
very,
perfectly.
very early
Because the
100%.
strategy made the same tire cycle that Sandy
Those were the
could,
first 10-hour
only
streams I
time
did, like
saved
consistent
came from
10-hour
not
streams
having
over
to
that
switch
winter
to
break.
Sandy at the
Or
bus stop outside of the
was that even
museum.
winter break?
Balloon kids were
I think it was
pretty
like getting ready
scary,
for
but
finals, my
this is just absurd.
sophomore.
The full strategy was quickly named SpongeBob
No, that was the
Museum
first
and
semester of my
saved
junior
nearly
year,
5
getting ready for
seconds
finals.
off of the any percent run for all of that extra
Testing the
effort.
waters with
The
10-hour
additions of
streams because I was
SpongeBob
doing a
Museum
longer
and Camera
category,
Skip
which,
as
by
part
the
of
way,
Route
100%
Z
was a longer
solidified the
category back
1
then.
flat 32 as
An
the end of
hour
any percents
and 50
unoptimized
minutes.
Era, and it marked the beginning of the run's degeneration into a showcase
Degeneration.
of desperate maneuvers for barely any time save relative to what they'd expected before.
Yeah, man.
Now, world record improvements weren't expected to be greater than mere seconds, and not
Super
nearly
Flare Star
as
popping on the
frequent.
leaderboards.
Shift hoped to
Chris,
eventually
there he
achieve
is.
a low 1-hour time with Route Z, acknowledging the many stressful weeks and months ahead on the road.
Yo,
to the
Long Ed,
ultimate
what's up?
prize. During this time,
Yep,
when
2
Battle
years
for
since
Bikini
this.
Bottom's world record had finally found stability, the inner circle of friends began organizing community events.
Yeah, this was the
Daytona had
first
announced
time
his
that it took a
retirement
while
from
to
the
grind it
FBB back in
down.
August, and
It was just
Jarrett had
constantly
since gone on
improving until
hiatus from
then.
Streaming. The community still had one of their 3 large channels to broadcast their next group endeavor, the revival of speedrun races.
That strat is so
Broadcast
fucking
their
cool.
next group
The
endeavor,
sandcastle
the
strat with
revival
the
of
umbrella.
speedrun races.
So fucking
Having
cool,
been a
man.
huge motivator for completing runs during the old era, the 2016
Yeah, the
community
robot
rediscovered
spawns.
fun
We're gonna
in
talk
racing
about that in the
outside of
Speedrun
the
Explain
turn
video
up
I'm
a
making
notch.
soon.
Instead of organizing group races
We're gonna be
for
talking
leisure
about
like Cole and Hazel
in
have done on
detail how any
SRL,
percent
the
works
new
at a world
community
record
went
level.
with a double elimination tournament format on
Oh god, look at this fucking list. Snap 32. Who's Neckin? Probably different name. Yeah. Humble
seems like a
beginnings. Challenge. Loader and I were trying to like decide on like how to pronounce challenge, so we decided to make like a joke out of it.
fitting adjustment for the community's own
Also,
heightened-
editing this shit lagged the fuck out of my
This seems like
PC.
a fitting
Like that
adjustment
effect
for
was
the
like
community's
crazy.
own heightening competitive spirit in its second revival. Now the runners gain
Yeah, I
gold
love
feeds
the
with
old
restream
school
to Shift's
footage.
channel.
Like, dude, doing this on I was streaming this on my laptop. The
And
quality
all
is
friends
so
outside the
shit.
races
Look at the
commentate
frame
together.
rate, man.
Yeah, he probably could. It's looking pretty, it's pretty one-sided.
Yeah, Red Moss versus Ringo, man.
Away from death there.
Ringo was not expected to win either of
And these
those
streams were quite
or any of
successful,
those, but it was a
often
3
peaking
game.
over
It was not
300
expected to go to
viewers
game
and
3.
creating many memorable moments.
That was the passion of this community back then. It was an over an hour long run. People were willing to do 3 in a row. Unbelievable. Just love
And
the
of
game.
course, it introduced Shift's viewers to some of the other community members that they weren't aware of, while giving newer members a chance
Ew,
to introduce
capitalizing the
Shift's viewers to
FNB
some of the other
FBB.
community members that
We've
they
come a
weren't
long
aware of,
way.
while giving newer members a chance to get involved. Battle for Bikini Bottom's
Yeah, I did
close
my
knit
best
group
to
of
include
friends
like all the
was
little
evolving
community
into
shit.
an expansive
But like I said
community.
earlier, it's got the formula of like talking about world records, strats, routing, community, and it kind of just like cycles through.
I mean, I was not focused.
I love this bit.
I had a lot of fun though. This is definitely the.
This is a high point in the video at this point.
Dude, you had like almost 500 people at one point. Almost 500 people watching you.
And that's like also Crest, thanks for the 50 months. Appreciate you, man. This is 500 viewers for a random SpongeBob game at the time in like 2016. Like, that's pretty fucking impressive for like the time and how small Twitch was at the point. Like, this was big stuff, man.
Yeah, I played.
This was the place to be in 2016.
Be upset about that. And Red Moss deserves it anyway. He's a god. He's a great friend, a great player.
With a community of runners grinding for improvement, a respectably optimized world
That's a
record,
great quote
and
from Ringo
viewership still
Tonga,
on
by the way.
rise, many were hoping the battle for Bikini Bottom
That's the
would
spirit of the
finally
community.
hit the big time. On October 5th, 2016, the community gathered in the Battle for Bikini Bottom Discord
I really
server
wish
to
we'd
repeatedly
recorded our
refresh the
reactions to
game's
this.
submissions
We
page.
didn't expect it
After
to get in.
midnight, the list of accepted
We
games
went
for
live
Bikini
after, but, like,
2017 would finally become available.
The VOD's
Having
gone,
witnessed many
unfortunately.
years of Cole's submissions being
Unfortunate.
rejected, Jelly especially hoped that BFBB's recent explosion in popularity would finally cause a miracle to happen. And at midnight on October 6th, anxiety would erupt into excitement.
As soon as you see the green, you know it's in.
Accepted to HDQ 2017. This would be the first time
Yeah,
BFBB,
man.
or any SpongeBob game for that matter, would be played at a game
SpongeBob
center
is
event.
complicated.
And
What
though
can
their
I
reactions
say?
have unfortunately been lost to
That's why I
time,
got in, 'cause it's
legend has it
complicated, man.
tears of joy
It's
were
really
shed on
interesting
this day.
stuff.
After years of rejection, BFBB was finally free. One step closer to the dream, Shift would now select the commentary couch for the upcoming
Yeah,
showcase, with
that's
thousands of
actually a
viewers
fucking good point.
at a game. He bought him any percent with
The estimate for my run in the first GQ, which by the way was a pretty generous estimate, is now the world record for 100%. 1 hour and 10 minutes exactly.
joy were shed on this day. After years of rejection, BFBB was finally free. One step closer.
Nah, I didn't have the
Shift would now
space. I
select
was
the
recording on a
commentary couch for
laptop
the
for all of
upcoming
2016.
showcase, where thousands would
I think I
realize
switched
that
to
one
my
of their old
desktop at the end of that year, but I
favorites
wasn't
was
saving the
left
VODs.
behind.
Pretty
At
sure.
this point, Cole and Hazel had emerged from the shadows after hearing that their passion project had been accepted to the marathon. So Shift's absolute
Yeah, it's super
priority
cool
was to
looking
have
back
them
at all.
both
Dude,
by his side
100%
while
being an
showing
hour
them
and
how
10 minutes
far
long
their
is
game
just
had
like
come. But
the
unfortunately, due to
fuck,
travel
and it can go so much
complications,
lower
Hazel
too.
was unable to attend the event. Therefore, the final
So
couch for the
sick.
Battle for Bikini Bottom any percent showcase.
Also, this
would be
elite
Jelly,
couch, dude.
Red Moss,
This is
and Cole
classic. Just had to get all the people
Hearing
on,
their
but
runners across
I really still
generations
love the
together
most
will
recent
last
GDQ
hurrah.
run
Through
with
hosting race
Shoy and
marathons
Jared
on Shift's
commentating.
channel,
That was so
community was
good.
able
We
to raise
nailed it.
just enough money to crowdfund Cole's trip
Great
to
end of an
Austin
era.
Done Quick 2017.
After all the meme
With
shit we
Battle
did
for
on
Bikini
stream
Bottom's
playing Call of
premiere in the
Duty and
mainstream
Barnyard and
spotlight
stuff.
upcoming, Shift's motivation to master Route Z and achieve
It's good
Bikini
fan
Bottom's
art.
premiere in the mainstream
It's so cute.
spotlight upcoming, Shift's motivation to master Route Z and achieve 59 was now stronger than ever.
One of the things I wish I would have
Like,
done is
Shift's
make that
motivation to
59 in
master
like
Route Z
4K or
and achieve
8K,
59
because you can see the
was now
pixelation on it.
stronger
It was
than
such a
ever.
rushed video.
His mind was
Also,
now
one of the
set on
motifs that
being
I
in
did
on
throughout
1
this
hour
video is every
before
time you see the
grand
golden
showcase in
59,
January.
it gets a
Later
little
that
bit
same
larger
month,
each time you see
another
it. Like it's
huge
closer
step
to the
forward
screen,
was
like it's
made for
physically
Battle for
getting
Bikini
closer
Bottom
to you.
community and Shift's
So you
stream.
should pay
On
attention to
October
that as well.
17th,
Little
Shift's
details like
persistence
that.
with applications had finally
Oh,
paid
dude, I
off.
love the evolution of the splits
On
too.
October 17th,
I like this one, like with the geometric pattern. You can't really see it because the bit rate's so low, but like it's a nice shade of purple.
Shift's persistence with applications.
You go to
finally paid off.
speedrun.com/BFBB and go to the world record progression graph.
You're now a partnered streamer. How does it feel, buddy? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
The
Shift became
advocates.
partnered on Twitch through streaming speedruns, strat hunting, and community events of
Oh my
exclusive
god,
on
the
Twitch
Pier
through streaming
Expedition.
speedruns,
If you want a cool video, search for the Pier Expedition on my YouTube channel. This is a really cool
hunting,
video.
and community events of exclusively Battle for Bikini Bottom. Before 2016, this was an unthinkable feat. But in the new era,
It's still an unthinkable feat. Let's be honest, who the fuck else is
it
doing
seemed
that?
like
Come
the
on.
sky was the limit. Making its first appearance in
I can't
April
believe
and now
this even
already
happened.
Partnered in October, Shift Stream
Those are the OG Quickster badges.
became
You guys remember those? We have the new ones now, the remastered ones, the remade ones.
a
But
symbol of Battle for
yeah.
Bikini Bottom's popularity explosion.
look at that, Mango fans in the chat as early as then. I didn't meet Mango until 2017.
Throughout 2016.
I think
With
there
the
was
game
always a little
having
bit of
grown such a
crossover between
strong,
Melee and
passionate
this.
Community 13 years
Similar
after
attitude.
its release.
Love for the
Who
game.
knew how much more was in store for it? With a partnered Twitch channel and a network of
Shouts
friends
to
dedicated
Melee.
to streaming the game, Battle for Bikini Bottom's
Get
future
well
was
soon,
looking
chillin'.
brighter than ever before. 10 days after the partnership announcement, Shift set a world record in BFBB any percent with the newly added strategies. This run also showcased an exemplary SpongeBob.
So
routine,
sick.
and overall
So
time
sick,
proved that
man.
Sub 1 could happen within the coming months. But it was clear with the execution and consistency required to save that time that it wouldn't be easy. At this point, Battle for Bikini Bottom's most difficult strategies had shifted.
I was really
from
trying to do a
slow-paced,
very
elaborate
slow
tricks
build up to
into
the 59,
fast-paced,
but
movement
without cutting to the
intensive
chase.
sections.
And I think
The
I
museum's
struck a
execution
decent
being so
balance with
tight
the
to save
pacing.
those 5
Just to build up the
juicy
tension and
seconds
make
made holding
people anxious to
pace
see
far
it, but
more
not give it to them right
difficult, and
away.
the stakes were way higher after getting a run past this
I like this
zone.
bit.
And after passing the museum, Shift still wasn't in the clear. he still had to pass Balloon Kids, Rock Skip, Texas Glide, Graveyard, and Robo Sponge.
When you stack this up to the shit that we're doing now, it's super impressive still, but man, Battle for Bikini Bottom is just a beast of a game, dude.
All of that, combined with the added pressure of achieving the first 59, made stress levels
And that's the
higher
real
than
pressure.
ever, and that
My
was
vision went gray
especially clear
when
to
I
the
was in
viewers.
the final level, getting that 59. I still remember it to this day.
It took almost an entire month of grinding to improve
Shit was
this
heating
record
up.
as well. On November 21st,
Yo, what's up? How's it going,
2016,
Stallion?
Shift completed an any percent run in 1 hour and 12 seconds.
It's my
a
birthday, by the
3-second
way,
boost
like my actual birthday.
and also a run that no longer has video evidence. This 1 flat 12 was never actually a world record. Earlier that same day, Shift
My parents got me a Blue
another
Yeti for
1
my
flat 12
birthday that year, and I used it in that
despite
VOD.
being
I'm pretty sure that was the
1/10 of
first time I
second
used it in a
faster
record.
than the one you're seeing now.
You know what? I'm gonna upload this one.
They got me
The
a
other one was
microphone
just
for
like-
streaming. It's
just
cute.
a better run, you know?
And I
I
used that
played
thing
better,
for a couple of years, I
played
think.
riskier. It may not be the actual world record, but I'm just gonna upload it.
This 1 flat 12 is the one that's still watchable today. The second
Yeah,
1
it's a
flat
little
12
confusing, I guess, but like,
but 1/10 of a second.
I got that, and I was like, yeah, pretty much like, this is back when RoboPat was like totally fucking random. We had no idea what to do with it. And I got a run earlier that had like a really good RoboPat, but the gameplay outside of it was really shit. And this was the opposite, so I'm just like, alright, like, you see that fucking industrial park, like, -6 to +11. Fuck that. That shit was so bad back then. But yeah, I was like, this is a better run.
You know what?
I'm just gonna
I'm
upload this
upload
instead.
one. The other one was just like, this is just a better run, you know? I played better. I played riskier. It may not be the actual world record, but I'm just gonna upload it.
This 1 flat 12 is the one that's still watchable today. The second 1 flat 12 lost 20 seconds.
And that was in the
to
same day.
Patrick's phase 3 spins.
Oh
Flat
shit, I
12
didn't realize
lost
it was that
20
much. Holy fuck.
seconds to Patrick's phase 3 spins. At this point in time, the strategy for phase 3 spin manipulations was still inconsistent, and due to the run's new level of optimization, the
Yeah,
quality of
just
spins
like
in
bad
Industrial
SBA
Park
could have
phase
been a
3 became
43.
critical for holding 59 pace.
43 was
Even the
like
game had gotten so
a
much
similar
tighter,
run where it
parts
was
of the
very
run
high
previously
pressure.
not feared were becoming
I still
potential
think it's the
vulnerabilities
greatest day in the
due to
history of the
less room for
game.
error. But even
All things
so,
considered.
1 flat 12 with 20 seconds lost to
The GDQ in the
made it seem like
43.
59 was just around the corner, and the hype surrounding Battle
It's
for
getting
Bikini Bottom
closer
continued
physically.
to grow stronger.
Literally.
Not long after the 1 flat
The
12 was
fucking
achieved,
rocket.
the previous world record skyrocketed in popularity on YouTube, breaking 100,000 views.
That's the
in
spirit,
just a
man.
matter of days.
There's
during
always
the
something to
Thanksgiving
do.
holiday. Of course, many of these new just
Wow.
a matter of days during the
Yeah, that was when I started hitting the YouTube algorithm. If you watched all the reactors, 'cause this is like the beginning of like React Dandy shit. People watching videos on their streams. All their recommended shit had my runs in there. Everybody was getting recommended these runs. Swear somebody at YouTube wanted this shit to happen.
holiday.
Like fucking insane, man. Like actually insane.
Of course, many of these new eyes were curious.
That was
to
like
experience
Thanksgiving. I remember
live
that. I was
events
checking my
about the
phone
Bikini
at
Bottom
Thanksgiving.
and headed on over to Twitch to watch
And I was like, what the
Grind
fuck?
59. Among this huge influx of newcomers, a good portion hadn't even seen or played BFBB before, yet were enticed.
This
by
is such a
unique
good
gameplay
segment.
that they were now
So
witnessing.
gracefully
To
and
this
elegantly
new,
stated.
passionate crowd, this was how the game was meant to be played. Battle for Bikini
When you
Bottom
think of Battle for
transcended
Bikini Bottom, you don't
the
think about
constraints of
exploring
nostalgic
around
business.
corners to find
It had
shiny
been
objects
reborn,
and like
redefined
laughing
by
at the
gameplay
jokes that
and features
Mrs.
its
Puff tells and
community
shit. You're
and
thinking about
component.
this. This is what
It
the
had
game is
become
now.
Something greater. With unprecedented community growth complementing a newly
And now
updated
everybody's on the
80%
same page,
tutorial,
man.
The final months of 2016 brought
Making
Battle
more
for Bikini Bottom
tutorials. We hit 100
latest
runners that year.
version
Wow.
of new runners yet.
December
As more
27th,
rallied behind the
2016.
journey, the grind for 59 continued with full vigor. Viewership rising, pressure rising.
My ass hurts sitting here.
tension at its most palpable. And
Such a sick
it
game.
may have started getting to Shift's head. On December 9th, he finished in 1 hour and 4 seconds. unlike runs he was getting a month
Don't we
prior,
all,
where
man?
one or two major mistakes struck the final blow,
I always
this
give
run appeared to
my
have
deepest
a
desires
lot
about
of mistakes.
Morbius
Shift's
in
movement
Flo's
was
chat.
improving, and some minor optimizations were added to enhance
Fucking
the run's potential.
tell he's
It
had
seemed
enough
like
of
he
it,
was hitting
but
a
it's still
mental wall
fucking
at the 1 hour
funny.
mark. 59 was no longer a matter of being
Yo,
barely
Charles,
achieved with a near
thanks for the
perfect
happy
run,
birthday,
as it
man.
seemed months prior. It was now looking extremely doable, and Shift's greatest adversary,
Oh god,
was
I love
himself.
Morbius.
well, that and the floating wheel in the sky.
Yeah, it was pressure and also just like this fucking trick being bullshit. Everybody fucking missed this shit. Everybody hated this. I don't care who you ask. Nobody
For all
liked
of
this.
2016, this was the ultimate point of contention for all BFBB speedrunners.
This trick ruined my fucking
Got the
life.
Arby's on deck.
I had sex with
Fun
some
fact,
Vietnamese
this was actually supposed to have the... So, I don't know if you guys are into rap music at all, but like, Eminem's Revival has a vinyl release for some fucking reason. So, the joke was going to be that we were going to stick the vinyl of Eminem's shitty album in the pile of shit. And we forgot to do that. So, we kept it in the bloopers when he threw it across a field. I'll get more on that later, but like that field was going to be where we originally shot the Eminem bit, but then we decided to use a green screen instead because we couldn't, like, we're like, nah, we're not going to do it in a field. We're going to do it like either on a building or we're going to do it in the actual thing. But yeah, we originally were supposed to have it in here and it didn't make the cut. I gave him a budget for this. I don't remember what the budget was, but it could have been something as high as like $50 or $80 of just dog shit to just buy and throw in this. Dude, he fucking ruined his floor. He probably had to vacuum his carpet probably after this.
Ruined my fucking life.
I think he said it was in
I
the
had
garage.
sex
I
with
don't
some girls
remember.
After I told them I knew how to.
Texas sponge glide.
It was pretty.
Meaningless sex.
We were originally going to have Red Moss record new lines to this, but we couldn't get a hold of him, so we decided to just get Jared to do this stupid, like, yeah.
After I told them I knew how to.
Texas sponge
Ended up being
glide.
funnier than we thought it would be.
Meaningless sex.
So many
Texas
things like that in this
Sponge Glide
video
had
where
been
we were
found during the
limited
explosion
by
of new strategies
constraints
following
and we
Cruise
just had to be
Missile's discovery
creative
in
and it ended up being
2014.
funnier or just
And nearly
more
3 years
entertaining.
later, it was still
Classic,
an
dude.
enigma. The runners just could
So many
not
classics
figure
in this
out
video.
what caused the glide to stick or send SpongeBob skydiving feet first. The added pressure of having to perform
I love that
after
choice of
finally
words
landing
with
the
the
Texas
big-ass
glide
feet.
caused many graveyard chokes as well, as seen in the record of 1 flat 04. But on December 22nd, Shift finally got a run out of the Dutchman's graveyard. Entering Robo SpongeBob slightly
I like
behind,
this.
a lucky robot spawn was needed to make an early damage
dawn
boost
of the
for Steve's
PB cam.
gauntlet inside of Robo SpongeBob. At a 50%
I was one of the
spawn
first
rate,
people to
the
use that.
alternative damage boost saves 2 seconds over the standard explosion boost method. The potential for a new world record was at the mercy of a coin
Yeah,
toss.
100%.
And
Collect
by
all
now,
spatulas.
Shift had implemented a personal best playback camera to compare his current best
Yeah, the
times to
difference
live
between getting a
attempts.
record or
Just
not in
look at
this
how close
was
the end of this run truly was.
whether we got good luck here. PB Can gets the bad spawn, this one gets the good spawn.
Shift PB'd by 1 second. 59.
I actually missed my split here, and you can see like I edited the splits so you could, like, it looks like it ended. I didn't want to have to explain to the viewers like, oh, you missed the split. Like, just, you know, I just froze the timer on my end.
out of reach once again.
Yeah, 2 seconds.
At
Yeah.
this point, Shift was getting some paces with potential to improve his time by over half a minute. A big PB was overdue, and 59 could happen on any run. But still, 1 hour and 3 seconds would become the final BFBB any % world record achieved.
I love the
that year.
pacing of this. It's like just
Battle for
right.
Bikini
We
Bottom's
dangle the
2016
59 over the
began with
viewers'
hopeful
heads.
retirees waiting for a
Still
miracle.
talk about stuff that's
Finished with
important,
an
but like,
expansive,
still got it in the
lively
back of your
community
head, like,
having
when's it coming?
experienced
It's
several.
gripping.
More than 9 minutes of world record improvement, a set showcase in Games Done Quick, a party
What a
stream
year,
on
man.
Twitch, prospects of a
What a
6-hour
fucking
run,
year.
and most importantly, a close group of friends.
This is
whose
one of the
shared love
most
for the game
legendary
would
stories
inspire
ever
runners for
in
generations
gaming.
to come. And although the historic year had finally reached a close, the era was yet to be concluded. One day after the new year, Shift realized that while
Alright, here comes the
practicing,
five
he
head
may have
shit.
found a solution for the dreaded Texas sponge.
It's funny how,
I
like,
discovered the trick.
half a year later we had Fast Nut and this was all for nothing. I mean, it's not for nothing, but, you know, it's a little bit annoying.
This is the reason why, like, you have like phases when you get it or phases when you don't get it, is because as
Yeah,
you
yeah, no, I still talk to a lot of these guys,
approaching the wheel at a different
especially Ringo Tongo and Jared's Giants,
I think it's
two of my
highly
best friends on the
likely
internet.
on a 51. And then
The
you get
wheel lab,
52,
yep.
It's because you missed a cruise boost or you're standing next to the bus stop for too long. Like, remember in my PB, I stood next to the bus stop.
Yeah, so
like,
the
a
whole
half a
point that
second
I'm
before I
making
jumped.
here
You want-
is that the wheel goes up and down.
52, you're
See how it goes up and down? If your movement gets better over time, you're going to be slamming into the wheel at a different time than you were before. So you could be going too fast, or you could be going too slow. And in one of the more recent runs that I did at this point, I accidentally missed the bus stop switch, and it delayed me a little bit, which caused me to actually get it by accident.
Therefore, the new strategy was to jump
And then,
through the
yeah,
wheel
2
before
days
the
later
start
it
falling.
happened.
That way, once SpongeBob reaches the wheel and slams,
It makes sense though, like,
to push
the
back
collision
and
has to
make
push you
dents
up so you get
slide.
stuck.
And testing this theory gave evidence to its credit.
My
Shift
little
started
paint
doing runs with
diagrams
its
that I
new
used to do.
strategy and nailed the Texas Sponge Glide
Yeah,
each
man.
and every time. After losing
Great
countless
players and great
59s to
friends.
this late game monstrosity, it appeared to have finally been solved. Not to mention, another
Yeah, this is so
field-based
cool.
gatekeeper from the Cole era had been slain. Without
Remember when
this major
cruise boosting was a
roadblock, refused
gatekeeper?
losing
Just nobody
runs
knew
in
how to do
Texas
it.
Past the 50-minute mark, Schiff was now fully confident in his ability to beat the game.
That's all
in
it took,
under an
man.
hour. 2 days later, Schiff started his usual stream, completely silent. Usually being so talkative, it came
I had laryngitis. I don't remember if it was because I was sick or because I was raging. Could have been a little bit of both.
as a surprise. With the
I don't
hundreds
remember
who
why.
gathered daily in hopes of witnessing the fabled 59.
But I couldn't talk.
But Schiff had apparently lost his voice from illness and told everyone not to expect the run to define an era on this day. And surely enough, he was right.
I think it's classic.
They'd get both of them.
That's just like the run that doesn't have the microphone. Also, we come full circle with the same soundtrack from the beginning. Well, it's still like technically a virus. Like you get, as far as I understand, I don't want to spread misinformation, so please correct me. Laryngitis is like a dormant virus that only comes to surface if you damage your lungs. So like I got it at one point, and then I fucked myself up, and then it came back up because I probably raised my voice, or maybe I actually was sick. I don't remember. Because I remember I was home at the time, because I was on break from college, and my brother's friends were like doing shit. I had my mic muted the whole stream because they were like, my brother and his friends were hanging out in the same area where I was streaming, and I was trying to focus, and I was like pissed. I don't think I yelled at them, but it would have been pretty badass if I did. Get the fuck out of my... The fuck you say to me, you little shit? I'm playing fucking SpongeBob. I don't think I would have been that crazy, but I was pretty crazy. Yeah. I like this montage. Yeah, I just don't think there's much more room to explore with these. Like, I did what I had to do, and I just want to do something different now, not just the straight montage. I'm rewinding this to tell you that, like, I don't want this to get lost to time when I'm someday not here to say it, but my vision actually did go gray at this part of the run, because I was so worried. I had in the back of my head, like, fucking Konosumi rolled off this shit and died. I don't want to do that, man. And my vision was gray all through this. I remember I was, like, dizzy after this, man. It finally happened. And then, yeah, want to see me do it again? I was actually going to use that for the 1 hour, 1 minute and 14 to the 1 hour, 1 minute and 4 second time. You know, the back-to-back double attempt thing. But I'm like, I got to save this for the 59. So I did. And this whole thing was like 14 hours later was supposed to be like the first 59 was the stream that started on the 3rd. But I got it past midnight, so it was, I think it was sometime between 12 and 1 a.m. So maybe the run even started on the 3rd East Coast time. But anyway, I tried to sleep after that, and I was way too excited. I couldn't sleep. So the 14 hours later, I was sleep deprived. You know, I was just like, I was surprised I even was able to get runs. But like at this point, like, yeah, the game was in GDQ. I got my 59. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start practicing for GDQ. So I think the first run that I did, or one of the first runs I did, I was doing a no reset run up to fast. At the time it was the Nut Glide, or Texas Sponge Glide as we called it. So I got to that point, and I reset because I missed it a couple of times or something, or like the run was already terrible at that point. I'm like, oh fuck, this is dumb. Like, I'm just gonna reset. Fuck it, no reset run. Fuck that. So then I actually did a no reset run, and it happened to be this one. And we didn't show the beginning, but I did fuck up hammer skip for like 10 seconds straight. But that was like legit the only even mid-sized mistake that was made in this run. This run was fucking crazy. This one would have been like minus 27 if I didn't mess up hammer skip at the beginning. And yeah, like, you've seen montages for gameplay, but have you seen montages for splits? Didn't think so. Yeah, I just like the way this is shown. Yeah, that run was awesome. It took a while to beat this too. We had to implement RCBs and one frame forbidden, the dawn of one frame forbidden.
I did not see this coming. I think the only real mistake in the run.
Yeah, 59.28 at that, right there. See?
Hammer skip.
Insane.
So
I guess it was more like 8 seconds or 9 seconds. I don't know.
On January 4th,
I love this this melody remix of the Diamond and Pearl. Problem is, it's just like lower quality compared to the rest of the stuff that we use. Like, it's not an HD. If I end up using this stuff again, I might reach out to the guy on YouTube and be like, yo, do you still have like the raw recordings of these? Because I'd love to use them in my videos. Also, shoutouts to Brown Man completing the fucking donation for the DX Racer. And shoutouts to the DX Racer for fucking up my neck and back for all the years that I used it.
Shift plowed through 6 minutes of improvement that even Cole believed was
I got the Herman Miller now.
At the start of the summer, Shift became the champion.
Great chair, by the way. Very expensive chair, but if you're gonna spend money on something you're gonna sit in for 10 hours a day, you know, you're making a good investment.
And 4,000 attempts. Shift.
Yeah, and that's what people don't realize too. Like, my attempt counter for Battle for Bikini Bottom at this point is just 27,000 something. But it took 4,000 attempts to get to this point from the start. I think this is like 9 months of running the game, right? December, October, November, December. Yeah, it's about 9 months. 9 months of running the game, 4,000 attempts to grind it down and make 59 even possible. So yeah, I have a lot of attempts and a lot of finished runs, but you gotta remember that, like, especially from this point on, every single minute break took so much grinding to get. Except for like the ones when SBA was new, but yeah.
1,000 attempts. Shift.
That's why the attempt counter is so high.
Bikini Bottom itself. His crusade to uplift the game through the art of speedrunning proved that every hour...
See, when I got into this game at the beginning, I looked at the leaderboards, and I said, I'm so surprised. Because at this point, I already learned how to cruise boost, and I'm like, I'm going to learn the rest of the tricks, and then I learned the rest of the tricks, and I'm like, I might as well just see if I can do a run. Let's just see what I can do. See what time I get. And I checked the leaderboards, and I'm like, wow, only 17 people? This is like the coolest game ever made. Why the fuck? Why are more people not playing this? Like, this has to be like, I have to be the guy. Like, it has to be me, you know? You know what I mean? Like, it hasn't happened yet because I'm the one who has to do it. Kind of that feeling. So I just knew that I had to be the one to do it and make the game popular and get really good at it.
Minute and second of it.
So I was inspired by that, just seeing that, like, nobody had done it yet. Like, somebody had to do it. It was criminal that nobody had done it yet.
So much more to give.
I didn't want to wait for somebody to do it.
Had only just begun.
Tear jerking stuff. And then we're not done. People were popping off, like, look at the cliffhanger time. This video felt like a good nut. Then we realized it's not over. It's not over. We still had the best segment in the whole video. Honestly, no. It just gets better and better. You had this, and then you had the wrap-up, and then the bloopers and stuff. And oh my god. It's going to be hard to top this, man. This shit's crazy, though. Like, overnight, this is overnight, by the way, people went to bed thinking it was at this specific time for an hour-long run and woke up and it was an hour earlier. So legit, people were getting here and it was already fucking over and they missed it. So we were like, oh man, if we don't have the community to back us on this, what are we gonna do? Like, look at that crowd, nobody was awake. And it would have been really cool having a live crowd, but
But
The people who were there were pretty cool. They enjoyed it. They got into it. Look at us.
Red Moss and Jelly.
Look at how, oh my god, I'm so
at 8
tall.
a.m., Shift stepped up to the plate.
Damn, I'm like a full head taller than
Red
them.
Moss and Jelly by his side. No matter the outcome,
God damn.
this would be historic.
That's a good looking
Cole and Shift
crew there
faces
too. That's like the
gang
boy
ring
band
eras
of
alongside
SpongeBob.
runners who had witnessed both revivals of the
Also just like
participation
showing like,
of the gang
at this
ring
point you haven't seen
bearers
anybody's faces, you've only seen the
alongside runners
SpongeBob characters, and now you like put a face to the name and the
witnessed
character.
Both revivals of the community would demonstrate how they'd elevated Battle for Bikini Bottom beyond what anyone believed possible.
Also the shout out to Galaxy 2. I had to keep the Galaxy. I know I think the Gusty Garden is Galaxy 1. I haven't played either of them, but I wanted to keep the iconic music in there as a shout out to the run that followed us up.
A game inexplicably takes over the speedrun community.
And I love this too, cause like if you listen to the guy's tone of voice, he's kind of shitting on it. He's kind of like, oh, psh, SpongeBob. But as he's saying it, it's like computing in his head, like the conditioning is wearing off, and he's just like, wait a minute, I'm about to shit on this. This is fucking sick. Like he realizes as he's saying it, like, what am I about to say? And he gets into it, and he's like, okay, wait, this is actually fucking awesome. And the crowd, like the chat loved it. This is before GDQ had sub-only chat too, so like everybody was just like, yeah.
Community of players.
No, I don't think so. I think it makes it nostalgic. I think it makes it classic that you don't see anybody's faces. That's how the internet was back in the day. It was just faceless people talking about video games. And then you finally see, like, now that we've made it, you get to see the people behind the, like in the cockpit, you know, like piloting SpongeBob. Like once we've made it, now you can see these people. And it came such a long way. And this guy who's commentating, he realizes it as he's saying it, like, damn. You know what? Maybe I should think twice. Thanks, Lunar, for the 5 months. There's no time. Also, I caught this rewatching it when I was working on it, how funny this is, this interaction. That was a big meme. Just somebody just says some shit to you. Like, yo, I'm thinking about getting some food. You want to come? Hey. That was the joke. We did that for an entire week, and it stayed funny the entire week. That was when I first met Loader too. Trey, I already knew Trey through speedrunning, but he introduced me to Loader because SM Loader was his roommate at the time in college, and that's how I met Loader, and then that planted the seeds for like working on this together in the future.
This is the day.
Also, Trey in general, like we talked in the past about like one day Trey said he wanted to make a video about the game, and I wanted to help him with it, but eventually it turned out that I made it myself and got him to help on it. I wanted to include him on it because like we originally, well, first off, Trey was always like a supporter of the game even before I even played the game. He was watching it back when Cole was playing. But yeah, we also like, it was just cool to include him because he was also like supposed to work on it with me initially. Summoning Salt said that he wanted to do a video on this game at some point too, back in like 2017, but like, you know, I ended up doing it myself, and for the better. I don't think that anybody could have done it better than me. Like it had to be me because I know the most about the game.
I'm Shift on the
and I know how to tell a story.
Okay, I'm Cole.
Love that we had Cole, by the way. So important that we had him there.
Start the run. 3.
Because that was his moment, man. Like, he didn't care who was playing. All he wanted was just to have the game in the marathon, and we gave it to him.
2, 1.
Look at him. He's proud of his children. That's a proud father.
Yes, this is a licensed video game, but you guys are going to be entertained, trust me.
And you know, these days you don't even have to say that. This is such an inspiring story for any game out there that feels like they don't have the prestige or the namesake to be popular. Like this is an inspiration to everybody. What a fantastic story.
At first try. There we go. That was really good.
Who cares if it's a licensed game? What the fuck does that even mean? GoldenEye 64 is a fucking licensed game, man. Like, come on. We got the B-movie jokes on deck. It's 2016, 2017. Oh, wow.
Thanks, guys. Took a lot of practice for that one. We're coming up to Hey Kid.
Fucking King Jellyfish. People clap for Squid's house first try. As soon as that happened, as soon as people clapped for Squid's house first try, did we show it?
At first try. There we go. That was really good. And everyone has their
Oh, we didn't show it. Okay, well, I mean, a lot of this was like editing things to be in sync with the music too, so I had to be careful with the things that I kept in. I didn't want it to get too long. But yeah, as soon as I got the crowd to clap for Squid's House first try, I'm like, oh shit, we're gonna have fun with this, because these guys don't know anything about the game. They're just gonna clap for everything. Fucking King Jellyfish for. I think the crowd knew that was a joke though. They could tell that was a joke, because they were saying leading up to it, this is the hardest part of the game. Hey Kid was a big meme back then. Still a kind of a somewhat a meme. Dude, people spamming VAC ban in the fucking chat for shit. First try. Spatula get.
And we're coming up, and time.
We had such an ass time slot, and they fucked us over by pushing it an hour earlier. Not intentionally, because of course, like, the marathon was ahead of schedule, but we had just as many viewers that legendary Sunshine race, that legendary Sunshine race from 2017 as well, with Trey, Bouncy Boy, Penji Apanga, and I think I feel bad for forgetting who else was in that, but it was a great race, and yeah, we were just as competitive as them in prime time. We nailed it, man. People were like, what the fuck, SpongeBob? Why does SpongeBob have this many viewers?
On the Jellyfish taxi pad.
And people in the chat were like, oh my god, this is it? Like, this is all you do in the beginning of the game, like downtown and shit. But they were blown away by the end of this. This run was so sick for a 2016 speedrun.
Doubled. 180,000
above league. Guys, the
live.
game's
Shift
above
performed
league.
the game's most iconic
180,000
jokes,
people.
even
There may
nailing
never
Games
be
SpongeBob
that many
Museum
people
for
watching this
all
game
to
at one
see.
time again.
Big day for the SpongeBob speedrunning community.
It may never happen again.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, we had to
Maybe someday, though.
Cole out here. We all raised money to bring him out. Cole was the original runner of this game. Gave us the baseline for what this game is today. We probably wouldn't even, none of us would be here without him right now. So I'd like to give a shout out, personal shout out to Cole right here.
Yeah, man, without Cole, we wouldn't have had the, like, cruise boosting twice against the box to get more speed. If it weren't for that, I would never have tried the game. Like, just being able to run at twice your walking speed and getting pushed like that is just so fucking cool to me. I had to give it a try. Also, the fucking Clementine pick. Dude, the Jared's Giants, like, Sunshine picture. This is from an era when Jared was kicked out of the friend group, we were being like toxic and shit. So we got a picture of Jared, like he was doing like the gangster like hoodie pick. He's like sitting on his bed or something, and somebody pointed out like, why is he wearing a hoodie when he's indoors? So I edited the picture and put him outdoors. And now he uses it as a profile picture years later that we've all made up. Now that we've all made up, it's funny. That's so good. We had to put him outdoors, man. Why is he inside?
You guys too for supporting.
But I was the guy who, ironically, I was always wearing my hat indoors on stream. That was a whole different thing. This is pre-hat era. This is the shift flow era. But I hardly ever used my webcam when I was doing runs at this point.
Such an overwhelming success that Shift was offered a personal interview and opportunity to.
That was nice of them too. That was cool. Also, that Xbox on the table was the one that I still use today. I saw on the Discord partner server that you're live, and I thought I should stop by. We're celebrating the 2-year anniversary of the creation and premiere of the history video of this game. So we're just rewatching it, and I'm giving my thoughts on it.
Live immediately afterward.
I did a good job in that interview, by the way. That's my first time doing something like that, I think. And yeah, the whole who lives in a pineapple under the sea shit. I thought I handled that pretty well, just not knowing the answer to the question. Like, how else can you answer that? Like, I was low-key seething that they weren't asking questions specifically about the game, but like, I wasn't gonna like complain about it and be a little bitch, just go with it, I mean, you could tell like the way the guy's looking at me, like he was interested in what I was saying. He was just reading questions off of Twitter, He was just taking the questions that the crew was giving him to put out there. SpongeBob second season
there
memes,
were plenty
yeah.
of questions to be asked, seeing as the GDQ Twitter feed had been posting nothing.
Yeah, the guy who was running the social media loved this shit.
Over the.
Like, low-key, they weren't fans until they were fans.
past
They
hour,
caught the shift bug,
Battle for
man.
Bikini Bottom had become a
I swear the game was so good, all it ever needed was just somebody to represent it.
Jason Horner, the lead software
Also, this guy's a
developer
legend, by the
for Bikini
way.
Bottom during his time working at Heavy
This
Iron
is the reason
Studios
why
back
the
in
game is fun to
2003.
play.
Jason reached out to Shift,
The
congratulating
movement.
him on his run and
This is
expressing
the guy
his
who made the
happiness for
movement
his
that we
own
all like.
passion project living on in the hands of its own community. He was also more than willing to confirm
This is
many
the
of the
dude.
suspicions the community had about the
How old's the
artwork of
Xbox? It
Battle
was
for Bikini
manufactured in
Bottom,
2005,
even
but I've been
how it was
using it
developed.
on and off for
Not
like 5
surprisingly,
years.
Jason was the one responsible for the game's smooth, unique physics engine that they'd all come to love.
Yeah,
And it
this
was no
guy
easy task
worked
getting it
so
to that
hard on
point.
this game, and
In
so
an
did
effort to
everybody
polish
else
and
who worked at
perfect
Heavy
the
Iron, but
first
like
two
this
acts
guy
of his
still
favorite
says,
game
and
he
he's
worked
worked
on
at, I
throughout his
think he
career.
went to
Jason
Bungie
went
after
above and
this.
beyond Heavy Iron's
He
Call
said
of
that
Duty,
it's still the
took it
favorite
upon
game. He said
himself
it's his
to
favorite game he's ever worked on in his entire career.
65-hour
Yo,
work
Enigma,
weeks
thank you for the
developing Battle
55.
for Bikini Bottom. Jason's extra
This is all
hours
just
seemed
casual
to
level
combat
play,
the
just
game's
showing
low
off like
budget
how
and rush
expressive the game is. You can do
and
so much cool shit.
evidently, those hours paid off. It seems determination and resilience run deep.
Makes me wonder, man. Like they say the world is just made up of they say the world, I'm trying to make a profound point and I'm just like, yeah. They say the world is made up of vibrations, right? I just can't help but wonder if like the passion that was put into the development of this game like somehow reached us. Like we just could kind of tell that the game was worth like caring for just based on the care that they put into the game building it. I just think that's a really cool thing to think
Bloodline,
about.
this unsuspecting video game that thrived
Like there were
against
no words spoken to us by these devs from 2003 all the way to 2017, but somehow like the passion just reached us, you know? Like they just communicated without, like just through the game, just through the art of the game, like they communicated like how cool this shit is, you know?
all odds. Later that year, even
Against
Heavy
all
Iron
odds too, yeah.
itself acknowledged an article.
And who knows who was working at Heavy Iron at the time, but like, you know, like there are probably a couple of vets there who worked on the
about
game.
Shift and the rest of the community
So
surrounding
cool.
their magnum opus. But following the overwhelming success of the showcase and Games Done Quick,
The birth
these
of Pat to
wouldn't be
Pat.
the only
God.
developers gaining interest in Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Yeah, and I already mentioned earlier that the co-founder and CEO of Purple Lamp Studios said when I was at the studio, like playing the game, super nice of them, by the way, all expenses paid. They took a lot of my suggestions. The camera angle in the game was set by me, like the actual like view, the field of view and camera angle. I did that, so that was cool of them to keep that in. He was like, he's so into speedrunning, man. He said that like he got back into the game, like he remembered the game through seeing the GDQ run, and then they had to like pitch to THQ Nordic like we want to be the ones to make the game. Yeah, and they got chosen because they were the most passionate about it, and they were the most competent
After
as well.
6 years of build-up, Battle for Bikini Bottom had reached heights surpassing anything its original runners could have.
Yeah, this
ever
is the
dreamed of.
peak of the
By the
video
end of
right here.
2015, it was
This
looking
is
like
the
it
one
could
where
only
people
ever
started
exist
crying.
as a dream. But having built
People
a strong foundation
got
of
really
fascinating
into it
gameplay, we
up
now
to this
know it was
point.
only a matter of time
What a big
before
payoff.
fresh motivation was enticed
It feels
to
like it's not
relive the
real.
original community's
Feels like
torch.
it's a movie the
In
way this is
end, all it
narrated.
took to reshape their game's future was sheer determination and true friendship.
Also, really
The
nice
runners
art
of
from Azul.
2016 created their own foundation.
I had so much fun with this, making the, because you could tell it looks like a little bit higher quality than just like zooming out on an image. The background and the characters were separated, and I made them zoom in at different times, so it looked a little bit more like three-dimensional.
And true friendship. The runners of 2016
Neat little trick that I
created their
figured
own
out.
foundations for a passionate community that would thrive.
Also, what a great image. This is just like so like, the one on the left is just so Dylan.
2016
Yeah, it's
created
awesome.
their own foundations for a passionate community that would thrive for
Classic.
years to come.
Certified
Along
banger.
the way, they'd overcome many challenges and demotivators inhibiting the community from reaching its potential, all while gracefully transitioning Battle for Bikini Bottom into the new and competitive era of speedrunning. And
Yeah, we
needless
caught up to
say,
everybody in
they
1 year.
too made its gameplay
We earned so much
even
respect in
sicker.
just 1 year
But what
playing
felt
this
like
shit.
The natural, satisfying conclusion to our story was just the mid-season finale. The remainder of the decade would truly test the limits of
But you
Battle for
still
Bikini
had a
Bottom's
bunch of people
potential,
being dicks
as well
about
as
the
strength
game.
of its own community.
Like I
With
said,
their
I
goals
really
aimed
feel like
high,
it wasn't
they
until a
entrusted
couple of
Shift
years ago when
to
people
lead the
started to
way.
really realize like, okay,
But how much further could Battle for Bikini Bottom
Maybe
be
even
pushed
recently,
past its
honestly. I've
7
noticed
hour
another
mark?
attitude shift
How would
recently.
Shift adapt to such a
People are
dramatic
down with
increase
it.
in influence and responsibility? Were the community's foundation strong enough to withstand the masses of incoming exposure? All of these questions and more will be answered, but in due time.
In due
Our
time.
stories of camaraderie and personal growth will be covered in 2 parts to complete
I'm still
the
not
saga.
ready.
But in the meantime, we sincerely wish you the best experience with Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. When we return, we'll dive right into everything leading up
But
to
man,
the
the
announcement
history of
made
this game
waves
since
around
this
the
was
world.
created is also
Once
pretty
again,
dope too.
ladies and gentlemen,
A lot of crazy
I'm
stuff.
SM Loader.
Community
See
side,
you
not as
all
interesting post
in the
rehydrated,
barrel.
but like man, a lot of cool
Subscribe
strats.
and ring that bell to know when parts 3 and 4 are
Oh, look at
available to
chat.
watch.
They're thanking me. So cute. Yeah, I was fucking having a great time making this video. Dude, I pulled Loader in drunk off his ass to take that shot. It was so rushed, man.
The International Circle
Cutting
Jerk
off
of
Josh
Super
again.
Acquaintances.
Loader was just playing poker, and I'm like, you need to get in here. Also, there's the revival on vinyl. Shout out to Zim for doing the audio stuff.
Oh my god.
Yeah, look at this scuffed ass setup. This is when we originally tried like doing the microphone, like him holding it, but then we realized like, oh, he's got to pop into the frame, and it all has to be in one take. So we started stacking the crates, and then you'll see what happened with that later. Yeah, Music Man, there he is. And SMB Doggy, not as talked about, but he did a lot of good stuff. He did the Moon Man cover, the Vsauce shit, so he didn't have to use the real song. And he also did the Chip Skylark stuff. The montage of the failing the glide. Yeah, this was the beginning of the highlight reel editor dude making stuff for me. A lot of humble beginnings here. Yeah, this video is for my friends, 100%. For the game and for my friends. I think that got itself across without having to say that at the end, but like, you know,
Some of you
still gotta say it.
might be still trying to get that.
This was fun. The fucking dude, I never realized how bad this was when I was like 13 watching Not Afraid. Dude, look at how bad that CGI model of Eminem is. It doesn't even look like him, it's so bad.
Hey.
Yeah, this is the crate stacking. I have all this recorded, by the way. Like all 8 hours of it.
Yeah, 2024. He goes.
Fucking Eminem.
Relax, those last 4 albums were whack now. Now this new shit is the fact now.
He's so good at off the cuff stuff, man. Such a funny dude.
Thor coined the strategy L clipping. As you achieve.
I love how just like the thought of swearing just like fucking makes him laugh, man. What a pure soul. It's so good.
You achieve the trick by mashing the shit out of the L trigger.
And he held it. Good man. Yeah, it's like making a joke about like murdering his wife or some shit. It was funnier beeped out.
Shady records or I'll kill your ass now.
I think he knocked the blinds off his window with that.
Okay, wait, I can't.
Oh my god, it was so loud.
I can't.
Man.
Confidential
What an
sources
experience.
tell me that there are 32 of a specific kind of Easter egg throughout this video. If you find them all,
And to this day, I don't think that they've all been found. This was the best inside joke.
Well, why should I talk to you?
Thanks for watching.
And there it is. A classic. Oh, wait. There's... we gotta get the reaction.
What you get.
People were applauding the video and I'm just laughing about Chip Skylark. That's so good. Yeah, we had so much fun making that video. The Chip Skylark stuff. Alright, well, it just took us like 3.5 hours to watch an hour-and-a-half long video. Thorough. I had fun. But we got to get back to the grind now. So for those of you watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed. I'm getting back into making videos. I'm still speedrunning, still grinding, but I'm trying to mix in, trying to find more balance, you know. Gotta start sometime, and you guys been waiting for stuff, so I want to give it to you. But yeah, thanks for watching this. I had fun. Had a good time. Thank you guys for the happy anniversary. Yeah, 2 years go by very quickly. Hope I look back 2 years from now and say, wow, we've come a long way. Because when you think about it, the time gap, say if I were working on the history videos right now, like 3 and 4, the time gap from now to when this was made, like 2016 to now, the events covered in this video to now is about the same time gap as yeah, like when around the time when Cole stopped playing, like the events of part 1, or I should say rather the events covered like at the end of this video, like the beginning of 2017 to when this video was made, it's around the same time difference between now and what's supposed to be the end of part 4. So basically what I'm saying is the stuff covered in this video is prehistoric at this point, but it still feels like it happened yesterday for me. But yeah, for those of you who have never seen this before, thanks for coming along on the journey. Looking for this comment on YouTube. Go take a shower. Crowbar, you smell. What? Oh. I was like... Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this analysis and React Andy content.